out for a 25-minute session is Spec Racer Ford Gen 3. And again, this is the first of 8 groups that we're going to be bringing you here this afternoon. And then starting tomorrow, it's race day. We've got 8 races beginning of the morning to the end of the afternoon, both tomorrow and Sunday.
Yep, first 2 rounds of the 20 rounds of the SCCA Super Tour are right here at Sebring this weekend, and we'll be talking a lot this weekend about how we're going to do the live streams for everybody. So essentially, each weekend we're going to have qualifying number 2. We're going to live stream that on our 3-day events, and then we are going to be obviously doing all of our racing action of each round on each weekend, and we're getting underway right now with our first group of the day. As you can see, these are our Spec Racer Ford drivers on their kind of basically their warm-up lap for qualifying. So
indeed,
and this was the last dry group this morning. It was kind of even a little, I hate to use the word moist, but
yes,
it was a little damp as they got started. And then the rain really came later in the day.
Indeed.
So.
And this is a very large group, Brian. 52 drivers, I believe, have left the pit lane to go out for qualifying. This morning in the wet, we had 51 drivers go out for qualifying. Let's quickly run down our top drivers, because the fastest times from this morning session and the fastest times from this afternoon sessions, they will set the grids
right
for our first races of the weekend starting tomorrow morning. And so our fastest driver on track this morning in Spec Racer Ford Gen 3 at his home track right out of Lakeland, Florida, Brian Schofield, former national champion representing the Central Florida region and PM Racing. Bobby Sack out of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, 2-time national champion in the class, second fastest driver. Schofield set a provisional pole time of 2:32.633. That's what these drivers are going to be looking to beat. Charles Russell Turner out of Montpelier, Virginia, representing the Washington, D.C. region. He turned in a 2:33 flat. John Vogel and John Goffrey were probably James Goffrey were our 4th and 5th fastest drivers on track. But I'll tell you, Brian, as we go through here, only a second separating our top 5 drivers in qualifying this morning. But again, a very large field, and as it got damp, especially towards the end of the session, drivers obviously not putting in their fastest laps of the day.
Yeah, considering there was a little bit of moisture on for all of the qualifying sessions earlier, my suspicion is that your qualifying and your pole sitter for tomorrow will probably come from the second qualifying session for all of the group. So, as you can see here on our stream, we're going to be bringing you multiple cameras every race weekend, and you'll see what we've got going on here as this whole big gaggle of cars heads through this area as they really start to get their times in. These gaggles will probably spread out over the course of a qualifying session, and so they can get some clean laps.
Yeah, and obviously, Brian, as we're bringing you this new format starting for 2023, you'll see that we've got these active timing pylon on the left-hand side of the screen, and this timing pylon will give you information certainly about single-class groups with SCCA notes multi-class racing, and we will be able to show you how each individual class is doing out on track. We're still working out some of the bugs, as you'll see. You'll have to indulge us a little bit as we work on that, but we are very excited to bring you this new generation of broadcasts from the Super Tour.
I tell you, Greg, in 30 years of doing broadcasting, I've been involved with a ton of program launches, and every single program launch, whether it was at the network level at CBS or CNN or the local level, every single program launch has been better on the 5th show than it was on the first show. Sure. So as I talk to people about this, I just let them know, what you see this first weekend will get a little bit different, and and it will grow from weekend to weekend. So it's kind of like when you first take your baby steps, and then you crawl, then you walk, then you run. So we're kind kind of hoping to skip the crawling stage and going right to the walking stage. And as you can see, it's a fantastic. These cameras just look gorgeous out here. So.
All right, so Brian, let's take a look now as we have now 2 flying laps in the book. So actually an out lap and 1 flying lap. Your fastest driver on track, and this is how we know things were slightly damp in the morning. Brian Schofield, who was our provisional pole sitter coming into today's second session, he came into this afternoon session with a 2:32. He has now dropped things down to a 2:25 flat, so has knocked almost 7 seconds off of his previous best lap time. Denny Stripling out of McKinney, Texas. Denny of that famous karting group, 3 Fast Guys and Denny. Denny's driving the number 123 machine today. He's got a 225.46, so about 4 seconds off the pace. And then Evan Slater, who has been putting in quite a bit of time running a Trans Am 2 car. I first saw Evan at age, I believe it was 14, on his 14th birthday.
Wow. At
Road Atlanta for the Road Atlanta Super Tour back in 2021. He is currently your 3rd fastest driver, and by the way, he finished on the podium that weekend. It was amazing to see. He has a 225.604.
Yeah, and you know, since these are kind of the first true dry laps that we've had so far, these are going to be quick laps. Track will also be a little bit different today than it was this morning, or this afternoon than it was this morning, and so they're all really kind of getting their first shot at this. But again, you're seeing the cream rise to the top here for the drivers that we're getting in the top 5, the top 10 here as we get going early. All right, so the camera we're looking at here, this is turn 14. Brian Schofield still our leader here, and it'll be interesting to see, because like you said, he was our fast car earlier today. You will find, though, that the fast drivers in the rain are often the fast drivers in the dry,
in the
too.
Dry as well.
Yeah.
So that is, as you said, we were looking at turn 14. That's down the Flying Fortress Straight. Here, of course, Sebring International Raceway, a former Army Air Force base. They used to train B-17 pilots here, Brian. And that Flying Fortress Straight, right next to a still working air park over to driver's left. You come down and then you make that slight little left bend into the chicane area, I think known as Le Mans, which is what we're looking at right now. You can see as they come off that Flying Fortress Straight, and watching the driver right there come onto the Ullman Straight, the back straightaway here at Sebring.
This is one of the most important corners on the racetrack because it does lead onto the longest straightaway here at Sebring. So what you do here determines how fast you're going at the end of this upcoming straight. So it's real important to get this last set of corners right before you get to that long straight, and then that iconic turn 17, which is, it is the widest thing you've ever seen on a racetrack, that turn 17. As you can see it right here, there's a lot of room. There's only one kind of right line and about 150 almost right lines,
yes,
and then there's one really bad line, and that's where you end up in the tire wall.
All right, I was going to say, Brian, real quick, because we've got a couple of hats that we wear here this morning. Let me quickly make a call to the grid for our next group, as we're just now about 10 minutes into, about 9.5 minutes actually, into this 25-minute qualifying session.
There you go. As you can see, lots of different lines here at turn 17, and there is some creativity going there. Charles Russell Turner just leapt to the top of our timing charts here, turning a lap at 2:24.117, and that is hauling the mail.
Hauling the mail, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so he's now about 0.2 of a second up on Brian Schofield. And here's an interesting one now, and just as I mentioned that, we've got some changes in the order here. One driver I wanted to mention who's in the field right now, he's running 9th fastest, and that is Clay Russell, or Robeson Clay Russell. Clay, our 2018 national champion at Sonoma Raceway, our 2019 national champion at Virginia International Raceway, and he's had a couple of years off as he's, I guess, getting his sea legs back underneath him. Still very quick to be in the top 10 here in a 60 car, or probably a 50 car field.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've got some of these drivers popping around here. Bobby Sack was up to 4th fast just a few minutes ago, and now he's dropped back down to 6th. So still lots of moving around here early in this session. Coming up on the 11-minute mark, I think this is probably a good place to take our first break for the day. We're going to take a quick break and talk with our partner and hear from our partners, all the people important in helping us bring these races to you.
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA's Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant, customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. Realizing Hoosier's existence and continued success is dependent upon how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see one of our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Tire racing dealer nearest you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly designed for champions. Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, brakes, and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts both on the street and on the track. As official tire retailer of Sports Car Club of America since 1995 and sponsor of the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trials Nationals and National Tour, and Track Night in America, Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
For more than 100 years, Sunoco, SCCA's official fuel partner since 2001, has been fueling victories both on and off the track, which is why Sunoco has trusted to fuel over 50 series of racing, driving, and winning, including the SCCA National Championship runoffs, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRaceFuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS. Hagerty is the official and exclusive insurance partner for the Sports Car Club of America. Hagerty provides affordable off-track insurance protection for motorsports vehicles while in the paddock, in transit, in storage, and at the shop. They provide guaranteed value coverage and even have protection for your trailers. SCCA members can save 5% on insurance through Hagerty. Learn more at Hagerty.com. Hagerty, let's drive together. For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit HawkPerformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you? All right, and we are back here at Sebring International Raceway, and right here in the middle of qualifying session number 2 for our Spec Racer 4 Gen 3's fastest driver currently on track, Brian Schofield out of Lakeland, Florida, driving the number 61 machine, a 2:23.620. Currently the bogey time that 50-plus drivers are looking to beat. Charles Russell Turner, your second fastest driver on track, almost a half second back with a 2:24.117. Denny Stripling at a 2:24.863. He is currently 1.2 seconds off pole. And James Goffrey now your 4th fastest driver in the number 68 machine. He's out of Jupiter, Florida, so is his home track here as well at Sebring. And then Evan Slater, we talked about just a little while ago, currently sitting in 5th with a former national champion, Bobby Sack, sitting in 6th.
Yeah, fast and furious action here, and I'm watching the timing screen. Everything's popping around in all different places here. If you're used to your local, race at your local track on a typical Saturday or Sunday afternoon, it's not often that you get 52 cars in any race. And, that's the one joy of these Super Tour events is we get not only some of the best around the country, but some of the largest fields that we can get here in the SCCA for these events. So 52 cars right now, all trying to put in a good lap and start up at the front of this race tomorrow. This race tomorrow, if you want to tune in, will be live just after 8 o'clock with a couple of qualifying sessions. And then the first race of the day tomorrow will start right around 9:50. So that will be what's coming up tomorrow on the Hoosier Tire SCCA Super Tour live streams here. And we're going to bring you all the action from all 10 races, all 10 weekends, all 20 rounds are all going to be here for you on scca.com/live. And again, this is our first weekend qualifying for round 1 here, and it is as good as it gets already here at this iconic Sebring International Raceway.
All right, so Brian, as we've got these drivers out on track, of course, this being the first event of the year, traditionally the very first event of the year at the Super Tour, but all the snowbirds, they usually come down south a week early as we have a majors event at Homestead down in Miami. I mean, this is the one that everybody comes to tune up for the Super Tour. So let's quickly just here to tell you how things finished up at Homestead over the first 2 days of racing here in the Southeast in the SCCA. Brian Schofield, our current provisional pole sitter, he took the win both Saturday and Sunday. Margin of victory on Saturday, 89 thousandths of a second over Denny Stripling. With Derek Schofield, who I believe is Brian's son, finishing 1/10 or 105 thousandths back from Denny. So really, really tight racing on day 1 from the Roval at Homestead. On day number 2 last Sunday, Brian Schofield again taking the win. Wasn't quite as close. He had a whole 22 hundredths of a second separating himself from Charles Russell Turner, with Denny Stripling coming home in 3rd. So a real tight, close racing down there to start the season off.
Yeah, definitely a family affair for the Schofield family. They've been around Spec Racer Ford since 1984, which is darn near the inception of the class.
That's right.
The car that Brian's driving was his dad's car, which they bought new in 1991. So the fastest car here today has been on the track for 22 years, which means that started as when this
30,
was a
31.
I'm too old. I didn't want to make that.
Yeah, that's right.
So this car started as a sports Renault,
right,
and it's been updated over the years to a Spec Racer Ford 1, Spec Racer Ford 2. Now it's a Spec Racer Ford 3, and Brian Schofield, 2-time national champion in this class in 2010 and 2013. So. It's not very many classes where you can run a car that's 32 years old and be up front and winning national championships all these years later. So,
all right, Brian, real quick, let's make another call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock, race group number 2. Race group 2, that's Formula V, Formula F, and Formula 600. Please start making your way up to the grid. Formula V, Formula F, Formula 600, that's race group number 2. Please head to the grid now.
One of the, I think, in my opinion, one of the best features of our live stream here is the scoring pylon. And if anybody has done any work on this, knows how difficult it is to make this system work. And the folks have really done a nice job with being able to read those things. And when we get to multi-class racing, the class numbers are going to have different colors. So that's going to be part of how all of this works. And it's not a big deal when you've got Spec Racer Ford and there's 51 cars in the same class. But we are going to have some races here where there's 4 or 5 classes racing racing at the same time, and that's just going to help the viewer at home see as we scroll through the qualifying pylon here. You'll also notice when we get to multi-classes, you'll see the overall, and then it'll also show just each individual class will fly through here. So it's going to be so much fun.
That's right.
With that.
And I might also add, and I think our viewers are probably going to have to wait till race day tomorrow to see this, Brian.
Right.
But as part of our timing and scoring package, we'll also give you updates at the bottom of the screen on big movers, big position changes that happen on track as well. So again, we're trying to give you a lot of information here because well, Brian and I can't see everything, but you know we see most everything, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Brian Schofield still up top here. Denny Stripling in second place right now. Again, these are all provisional results. Charles Russell Turner third. Derek Schofield is in fourth. Bobby Sack, also a former national champion in this class. He's in fifth. Todd Vanacore sixth. James Gorey is in seventh. Tyler Knighton eighth. Evan Slater ninth. And Robeson Clay Russell, your 10th fast right now.
Yeah, and some drivers that maybe I'd expect to move up in the order, but it's very difficult. With these drivers, many of them are in packs. They are using the draft. But it's still somewhat difficult. The track is somewhat congested to make big jumps through the field. Chris Jennerjohn, former Formula V racer, currently sitting 18th in class right now with a 226.396, and both he, Jim Lebecco, in the number 198 machine, and also John Vogel, who was one of our top 4 qualifiers in the wet this morning, and I've had a lot of opportunity to watch John in virtual racing over the last 2 years or so. They're currently running 17th, 18th, and 19th, and don't seem to be making a lot of movement up through the field right now. Also, Joe Kawasako, who's sitting right with that group as well, currently sitting in 20th. Joe, a longtime Formula Continental racer here in the SCCA, got back into a Spec Racer Ford, raced in Spec Racer Ford in both Continental and also raced in Spec Racer Ford and Continental last year at the runoffs. He is currently sitting in 20th position.
Right, definitely. Coming up on 3 minutes to go in the session, here's something you probably didn't know. Denny Stripling, and you're an aficionado of one of the best of these stick and ball sports.
Yes.
Denny Stripling's a hockey player.
Yeah, well, I would say the stick and puck sport.
That's a stick and puck sport,
absolutely, yes. Denny, and I was going to say you don't see many hockey players in Texas, but actually with the Dallas Stars making their way down from Minnesota a number of years ago, yeah, actually you do.
There you go. There you go. Going through, and I don't. A lot of these throughout the course of this weekend, and of course over the 10 weekends. I'm seeing the histories on some of these. A lot of these cars are old enough to be old sports Renaults, and that's really cool to see.
Yeah, and as these cars have been updated from the old original Renault engines, of course, Ford coming on with those 1.9 liter Escort motors around, I think it was 86, 87 when Renault left the U.S. market, and then of course they've been updated in just the last couple of years to the 1.6 liter motors. The all aluminum motors. As Brian, we're getting a black flag all. We do have an issue out on track. I'm going to try and pick up exactly what that is, and I believe it is over at between turns 9 and 10. And as we try and get some information from race control on exactly what's going on there, we have gone to a black flag condition, so all the drivers will be coming around and coming into the pits. Now, these are 25-minute long sessions, Brian. There is only a little bit under 2 minutes remaining in the session, so this is probably going to bring out the checkered flag for this group. Now, I know we've had some people on YouTube, and the checkered flag indeed is now being displayed on the session. We've had a couple people on YouTube say that they'd love to see the amount of time remaining in these sessions on the ticker. It's day one, guys. We're working on it. Don't worry. we'll be trying to get all this stuff up and running for you. But
Chris, I was going to say, Pris Bucola on our live stream. And by the way, you can engage with us and talk to us on the chat, and we'll get some of those comments. Pris Bucola tells us there's a lot of Spec Racer Ford players who play hockey. So
really,
we need to get a pickup game on Saturday nights or something.
Absolutely, we do, and hopefully all of them are Washington Capitals fans.
All right, so let's go through our top 10 real quick before we
absolutely.
take a little break and get ready for our next session.
Absolutely. All right. So going into tomorrow morning's race, and again, this is going to be the first race on course, starting as you said, Brian. Right at I don't want to say 9:50-ish. Yeah,
right.
we've got our last 3 qualifying sessions actually are going to be tomorrow morning. So right around 9:50, Brian Schofield. Assuming no action taken in the steward's room that we don't know about here, Brian Schofield should be your pole sitter for tomorrow's race with a qualifying time of 2:23.386. Denny Stripling with a 2:23.736. It's 3,500ths off pole. Is scheduled to start on the outside of row number 1. Bobby Sack driving the number 19 machine out of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. He is scheduled to start third with James Goffrey out of Jupiter, Florida, starting fourth. Charles Russell Turner and Tyler Knighton will make up your third row. Derek Schofield, 7th fastest. Todd Vanacore, who we were watching, who had been sitting in 18th position, well, in the last couple of laps, he moves up to 8th. Robeson Clay Russell, again, former 2-time national champion, 9th fastest today. And Evan Slater, driver of the number 67 machine out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, scheduled to start 10th.
Well, there you go. There's your top 10, and they will be ready for our first race of the day tomorrow. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have action for our second qualifying of the day, and let's take a chance here to listen and hear from our partners.
Summit Racing Equipment, the official high-performance source and proud sponsor of the SCCA road racing program, is celebrating its 55th anniversary as the world's speed shop.
Hagerty is the official and exclusive insurance partner for the Sports Car Club of America. Hagerty provides affordable off-track insurance protection for motorsports vehicles while in the paddock, in transit, in storage, and at the shop. They provide guaranteed value coverage and even have protection for your trailers. SCCA members can save 5% on insurance through Hagerty. Learn more at Hagerty.com. Hagerty, let's drive together. Mazza Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your racing weekend with Mazza Vineyards and learn more at enjoymazza.com.
All right, and welcome back here, everybody, to Sebring International Raceway for the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. I've had a year off. I forgot what the name of the tour is, everybody. And again, I want to thank everybody for bringing me back after a year away. It's great to be back on the Super Tour here. And our next group up is going to be our first of 2 open wheel groups this weekend. It's going to be Formula V, Formula F, and the newly named Formula 600, previously Formula 500, and didn't have many of them go out for qualifying this morning as the rain was starting to come down. Had 13 drivers go out on track today, and we'll take a look at how things finished up there as we're waiting. Of course, we've got a little bit of cleanup going on. I don't want to get too far over my skis right now because we do have a little bit of. I think we've got a little bit of cleanup, obviously, as we had that black flag come out earlier for the Spec Racer Fords, but. Great qualifying session here. Very, very close with our fastest group Formula F here at the front of the field. But as we're seeing here, the wet is like the great equalizer, but now very, very dry track as the sun is out. We've just been given the 5-minute warning on the grid. So let's take a look here. Fastest driver on track in the first qualifying session for this group. Actually, the top 7 drivers were all in Formula F. Fastest of the bunch, Nolan Allaire. Now, Nolan is our 2022 national champion, not in Formula F, but in Formula Continental, in his and driving the number 0 machine, the Martini Shandon Evan Williams Polestar machine, and he's out at Grosse Pointe now. He took the win in Formula Continental, not too shabby at the runoffs in Formula F. However, he did finish 3rd in the national championship. He, of course, is was running this weekend and was our fastest driver in morning qualifying. His father, Robert, is running the Formula Continental car this weekend that Nolan took to the championship. It's actually Robert's car. He allowed Nolan to race it at the runoffs as it was the faster of the two cars, both Nolan's and Robert's, and Nolan took that championship. But Nolan only racing Formula F this weekend. His fast time this morning in his Van Diemen was a 241.218. Matteo Naranjo, who is running with Pelfrey Motorsports this year, and I got to see Matteo run at Road Atlanta at the American Road Race of Champions back in November. He is, as you find quite often in Formula F, this is really a big stepping stone to bigger and better things. 16 years old, he's out of Peoria, Illinois, and he's been racing karts for years. Now, when he ran this event last year, he actually finished P3 both Saturday and Sunday, and it was actually his very first SCCA event. So obviously he's looking not only to not to equal but to improve upon that. Also great luck for him. Finished on the podium both days at the American Road Race of Champions. He's a WKA world champion in KA 1000 and also in junior, taking both of those championships last year in 2022. So he was our second fastest driver on track with a 243 flat. BJ Shaw, representing the Indianapolis region out of Indianapolis, Indiana, with his Spectrum machine, was our third fastest driver. Ken Bouquillon, out of the New England region and Oxford, Connecticut, drove his Mygale to a 256.1. He was your fourth fastest driver overall and in Formula F. Now, in Formula V, didn't have many drivers head out on track, but Donnie Isley was the fastest of the bunch. Donnie's out of Fletcher, North Carolina, and representing the Central Carolina region. And I love, Brian, I absolutely love the names of different Formula Vs and the Formula 600s for that matter, as Donnie Isley was driving his 1999 Agitator.
Yes.
That's intimidating right there.
The Agitator.
The Agitator. He's out of Fletcher, North Carolina. He turned in a 340.694, and again, it was somewhat wet out here. Second fastest in V from the Atlanta region, old age and treachery. Don't let him tell you I said that, though. Stephen Davis. Stephen is such a stalwart in Formula V. Out of Danielsville, Georgia. I had a great conversation at a regional race at Carolina Motorsports Park with him last year, talking about the evolution of Formula V, and he's just such a wealth of knowledge. And then, well, actually, I believe they were actually the only two Formula Vs that went out for qualifying. And then in Formula 600, we had Keith Jocelyn. Keith, who finished on the podium at Homestead a couple times last weekend, as well as Russell Straight. And Jocelyn with a 341.3. As you can tell, this was definitely dealing with the wet. I think both Keith and Russell came out towards the end of the session, with Russell at a 430 flat. So, quite a bit off of the times that they'll be running in the dry. But we do have cars on course right now. And they are starting their qualifying laps at this very moment.
All right, we've got our first cars getting out. It'll take them about 3.5 minutes to make the lap and come around for their first race lap here. That's why you're still seeing the names from the previous session on the pylon. So as soon as the next session comes up, you'll start seeing those names get replaced for on the pylon. And, as you see now, here they go. James Lebeco is on there. So now that the system, the pylon stays on until timing and storing recycles it. So that will happen on occasion here. But yeah, getting ready, and again, not one of our bigger subscribed class fields for the weekend, but these folks really get into it and they love what they're doing, and like Greg was saying, some of these are older cars and they've been around for a long time, so it's really a fun class to watch here.
Yeah, it definitely is. And Brian, let's see, as again, these drivers are on their outlap right now. If we take a look, and I've got to dig up, as I go and dig up all of my notes from the past couple of weeks here, let's take a look and see where things finished up here at Homestead. Now, I talked about Keith Jocelyn and his exploits at Homestead a week ago. Well, let's start off with Formula F. And Nolan Allaire, again, finished third at the national championships this year in Formula F, was your winner on both days. And, wow, I mean, such close racing at Homestead. Yep. Brian, we talked about how close things were in Spec Racer Ford last weekend. Well, Nolan Allaire, a 1/1700th of a second margin back to Jonathan Kotek, another national champion in his own right out of Atlantic Beach, Florida, representing the Buccaneer region. That was on Saturday. And on Sunday, Nolan took the win over Jonathan. 53 thousandths of a second.
You know what? That's not even close.
That's nothing.
That's nothing.
That's absolutely nothing there. So John Benson, he took the bronze both days, came in third both days. He's out of Dade City, Florida.
Right.
And David Dorno from Pelfrey came home in fourth on Saturday and on Sunday as well. Now, if we drop back and maybe take a look back a year ago here, we had Formula Continental in this group a year ago, so I'm going to go and hold them out. But last year, Nolan Allaire took the win on the Saturday race, but Hugh Esterson, who I believe has been spending some time off in the UK racing Formula Fords, took the win on Sunday. Now, we mentioned also in the lead-in, Matteo Naranjo came home and finished third both days in his SCCA debut, and so again, I'm sure definitely looking to repeat there. If we take a look on track right now at the lap times, and let's take a look at Formula F, where we have 10 drivers that have taken to the track for this qualifying session, and when I say things are considerably faster in the dry here than they were in the wet this morning, Nolan Allaire, provisional time 225.247. That is almost 15 seconds faster than he ran this morning. Ken Boucoulon out of Oxford, Connecticut, and I hope I'm spelling that, or not spelling it, but pronouncing that correctly, a 233 flat. Matteo Naranjo currently third fastest at a 233.8. Then Charles Foster, Alan Oppel, your top five. In Formula 600, Keith Jocelyn is currently your provisional pole sitter, a 233.812, and Keith is currently your fourth fastest driver overall in the session, but your fastest in Formula 600, Jack Walburn in the number 67 machine. He's out of St. Louis. Your second fastest driver, Russell Straight, in the number 9 machine, third fastest. Jenner John is your fastest driver currently in the number 46 machine. Didn't we just see Chris out in the Spec Racer 4 just a few moments ago? I believe we did. He jumps into his Vortec. He's out of Hartford City, Indiana, and is currently your fastest driver on track at a 251 flat. Stephen Davis, only 0.8 of a second off that time at a 251.8. William Stasinski, Donnie Isley, rounding out the what is currently a 4-car field.
Definitely, and it's just fast and furious action here. Of course, you've got your Formula Fords up front, which you'd expect, and then your Formula 600 cars here in fourth place. And it is interesting to see how every once in a while you get one of those faster Formula 600 cars that are able to get up and into the mix with the Formula Fords. A lot of times these classes ask for split starts because there's a little bit of a time difference between a large group of them. But with this Formula 600, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and how these end up mixing it up with each other as we get some more data points on that.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I want to thank the folks on YouTube for beating me to the punch. I thought this was maybe a loaded question coming from my announcing partner in the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series, Brian Donati, wanting to know why the class has changed from what was known for many years as Formula 600, or pardon me, Formula 500. Actually started off as Formula 440, and then for many years as Formula 500, now known as Formula 600. For many, many years, the Formula 500s made up the majority of cars in the class, and up until I think around 5 years type cars in the class. You typically Rotax two-stroke motors with a centrifugal clutch and transmission, basically a snowmobile drivetrain, and made up the class. A couple of years ago, the 600cc motorcycle motors with the traditional motorcycle gearboxes came into use. A lot of the drivers down in the southeast liked running them because, well, they weren't air cooled, they were water cooled, and you could actually keep them running for an entire race. But now the majority of the drivers have moved over to those 600cc motors.
Right.
We're seeing more of them.
Well, and I'm old enough. Sorry, I keep talking about how old I am. I'm old enough to remember when these were Formula 440s.
Right.
When the original machination of this series, they were 440-based snowmobile engines. Then they bumped up to the 500cc-based engines, and now we've got the 600cc motorcycle engines.
All right, Brian, real quick, let me make a call to the grid for our next group because they've got a lot of them, and they all need to start hurrying.
So the other thing I wanted to point out here is that on our scoring pylon, we've made a couple of changes, even in the break. We now have a time. Now, that's the time to the end of the race day, and we'll work on that as we get through here. You'll also seeing that we're able to now, you're seeing just the Formula V cars on the pylon right now. And then we've got the large group here at this point in time. So so this is all of the cars in this class, all 15. Now we just switched to the 18. So there's 18 on the track right now. And then you will see it'll flip to the next group of cars in class order.
Right.
So
the greens are going to be your Formula Fs.
Right.
The whites are going to be, as you can see there, the Formula 600 drivers. And then I believe it is the yellow, which will be, pardon me, not yellow, I believe. Then I'll have to check the other color. My gosh. It's a good thing I'm not colorblind, Brian, but I think there's one more color there. And I think, yeah, there it is in blue, Formula V.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, we're getting up on the 9-minute mark. So what's that? 15, 16 minutes left in the session. So.
And currently your fastest driver, as we can read off here, is Nolan Allaire, who just turned in his fastest lap of the session. Nolan putting in a 2:20.196, so 21 seconds faster than he ran in qualifying earlier. Mateo Naranjo out of Edwards, Illinois, currently your second fastest driver at 2:23.618, so about 3.4 seconds separating those two drivers. Ken Buquillon, another 4 seconds off of Naranjo, currently your third fastest, then John Chimenti and Charles Foster. And here's somebody who's coming down, Brian, and we had a chance to talk to her at the runoffs out of Youngsville, Louisiana. I think somewhat out of New Orleans area. Actually, I think out of the Baton Rouge area. Cameron Reed, who definitely is, and we talk about Formula F. So many of these drivers, these are great launching points. They come out of go-karts, they go into Formula F, they start to move up that ladder, and just such a humble young lady. As we got to talk and meet with her father and her at the runoffs, they had some mechanical issues throughout the week, but always positive, always keeping her head up, and again, just a great humble racer. Currently running 9th in Formula F. Fast time for her, a 2:37.894. If we take a look over at Formula 600, it is still Keith Jocelyn, and again, Keith was your fastest racer here in qualifying this morning. This morning ran a 3:41. Well, he's kind of eclipsed that. He's about a minute and 10 seconds faster than that right now at a 2:27.2. Jack Walburn, your second fastest driver. Chris Jennerjohn, Stephen Davis, your top two in Formula V. Now, we talked about how these drivers did at Homestead last week, how our Formula F drivers did at Homestead. If we go and then take a look at say Formula 600, well, you know what? maybe why don't we skip over Formula 600, Brian? Because actually on Saturday, I don't think we had any finishers in Formula 600. So, hey, tell you what, while we look at Formula V, where taking the win on Saturday was, actually, you know what? I'm looking at the Super Tour right now. That is why, the Super Tour from last year. Let me be a little bit more period corrector and actually look at the current year in Formula 500. And I knew that there was you know what,
let's take a break.
You know what we need? We need a swear jar for every time I see every time I say Formula 500. All right, shall we take a break and we'll take a look at the Formula 600s from last week?
Definitely. Let's take a break. You'll watch the Hoosier Tire SCCA Super Tour from Sebring International Raceway.
Summit Racing Equipment, the official high-performance source and proud sponsor of the SCCA road racing program, is celebrating its 55th anniversary as the world's speed shop.
Hagerty is the official and exclusive insurance partner for the Sports Car Club of America. Hagerty provides affordable off-track insurance protection for motorsports vehicles while in the paddock, in transit, in storage, and at the shop. They provide guaranteed value coverage and even have protection for your trailers. SCCA members can save 5% on insurance through Hagerty. Learn more at Hagerty.com. Hagerty, let's drive together. Mazza Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your racing weekend with Mazza Vineyards and learn more at enjoymazza.com.
Welcome back to the SCCA Super Tour, the Hoosier Tire SCCA Super Tour events. If you like what you see today, become part of the action by joining Sports Car Club of America. Whether you want to drive, flag, or just have fun with cars, SCCA membership opens the door to all kinds of motorsports to feed your obsession, along with 65,000 like-minded members ready to be friends for life, many of them. Ask someone trackside how to get involved. Visit SCCA.com for more information.
All right, so Brian, and want to thank all of our great partners and sponsors here of the Super Tour for 2023. Why don't we go back and have another chance of distributing something into the swear jar here, Brian? In Formula 600.
There you go.
There you go. Jack Walburn took the win both days over Keith Jocelyn. So Jocelyn obviously looking for a little bit of redemption here. Currently has an 8-second advantage here in qualifying over Jack Walburn. We'll see how things play out there. Russell Straight only 0.6 off of Walburn's times currently. And in Formula V, your winner at Homestead on Saturday was, I believe, William Stasinski with Chris Jennerjohn finishes. Pardon me, take that back. Jennerjohn took the win on Saturday. Stasinski took the win on Sunday in, I believe, what was a 3-car Formula V field. Michael Ennis took the bronze each day.
You know, and Gregg and I are kicking the rust off and dusting off the car cover here this weekend as well. So, and actually, this is the first time you and I have called live race action together.
That is correct.
So, you know, we're gonna figure it all out a little bit more as we go from time to time, and just like, you know, a new race season for drivers and teams with new rules and new regulations. You know, for a driver and a team, they just have to learn the new rules and regulations for their car and their class. Gregg and I have to learn the new rules and regulations for 27 classes.
Exactly.
So, you know, if we will, I won't apologize, but that's, you know, we're learning this stuff as we go along with some of the new changes this year, and that's part of the whole deal. We've got about 10 minutes left in this session. And Nolan Allaire is still our fast qualifier right now. His fastest lap, a 2:19.764. Mateo Naranjo second. Alan Oppel third. We need to get everybody named Smith or Jones. I'm sorry. Race car drivers, if you want to talk about us, want me to talk about your car, make it bright yellow or bright orange. And if you want us to say your name, have a name Smith or Jones.
That is it. I have a feeling I'm probably going to have to reach out to Katie Boucher for the pronunciation of our driver in the number 84 car. That's one of the Pelfrey cars.
I'm going to go with Beauquial.
That's how I've been doing it. So and if we're not correct, please let us know. Also, you know, I don't want to open up the spam gates here, Brian. But if you have feedback, obviously, and I'm seeing a lot of great feedback right now in the YouTube chat, but you can also send us email at supertourannouncers@gmail.com, and that'll get to us as well. We love constructive feedback, and as you say, Brian, what do you say at the end of your podcast? If you don't have something nice to say, put it on
someone else's Facebook page.
Yeah, exactly. Send it to somebody else's email.
I love it. Deacon Greenfield Racing. That's exactly why he's painting his car red, so that we notice and talk about it. I love that.
Right. And actually, Deacon, great. One of my students at driver's school this past year did a great job out of the Washington D.C. region. Great job in the SSM class. I know he is currently building up a Honda CRX to race in. I think the choice right now is STL. He's been jumping back and forth trying to decide what kind of motor he wants to put in that car. But great to have Deacon and a lot of other DC region and Northeast Division racers that I know are online and watching and listening right now. So I want to thank you all for joining here for the very first weekend. And plus, it's a Friday. Why aren't you kids in school?
They are in school. They're flipping between this and physics or whatever the case it may be. For those of you watching on the stream here, you'll see beautiful Florida blue skies with some puffy clouds. That was not the case at the start of the day.
No.
We had 3 hours of fairly steady rain and drizzle. So now we have a dry racetrack, and from this point forward, I'm going to guess that every qualifying time for the rest of the day will be faster than anything happened
this morning.
Exactly in the first session, because all those sessions were wet.
And I know that, Brian. I know that's the case for our next group. Let me quickly call them to the grid. Because, Brian, out of the 90 drivers in Spec Miata, I think we only had 40 or 50 of them go out, and I think we only had about 10 fewer that actually finish up the session. So I'm sure they'll be looking and hopeful for some dry weather here. And we also have, and this may not be such a big deal, Brian, for the tin top cars like the Spec Miata, some of the heavier big bore cars, but we've got some pretty big gusts of wind here right now that are blowing down the front straight directly in front of us, which could certainly impact the times and the handling of some of these smaller Formula cars like the Formula Fs, Vs, and 600s.
Right, absolutely. Especially going, as I'm looking at the wind, it is blowing straight at the drivers as they come down that long straightaway going towards turn 17.
Right.
So 17 definitely be a handful with this wind.
Yeah, they get a great run down into turn 1 here, but the Omen straight, that long straightaway that brings them down to the Sunset Bend, the longest straight here at Sebring, that's a lot of wind in the face when they're at the top in top gear.
Yeah, no question with that at all. Your leader in Formula 600 is Keith Joslin, and Keith Joslin was I just lost my page.
Well, I was going to say the 55 machine, he is currently, Brian, your 8th fastest driver overall. Now, Jack Walburn had been sitting about 8 seconds off of Joslin's pace when we last looked in a few moments ago. He's cut that down to about 4 seconds. And Russell Straight still running much almost equivalent times to Walburn, only 68 thousandths of a second off of Walburn's times currently.
Yeah. Keith's background, 12 years as an SCCA racer, but he's a card-carrying member of Gearhead Nation. He's done karts and sprints and enduro, snowmobiles, snowcross, snowmobile grass, drag racing, snowmobile asphalt, drag snowmobile racing, water skip, inboard hydroplane. In addition to all the SCCA stuff, he also races sailboats, catamarans, windsurfers. Does he sleep?
Apparently not.
I'm guessing he doesn't do it all in the same weekend.
No.
Okay.
No. And my guess is when we wrap up on-track activities today, we could probably go out to Lake Placid out here, and he may be out there sailing across the water there. Oh my.
Yeah, no question.
All right, and if we take a look back in at Formula V, where we have 5 drivers out on track currently, our provisional pole sitter in Formula V has just run his fastest lap of the session. He put down a 2:51.003. We'll call that a 2:51 flat timing's sake, and for some reason, although I'm showing him as the pole sitter, that's not correct. Maybe that's not correct. Let's take a look. Give me 1 second here. You know what? I'm gonna change things up a little bit, because it was showing that that Chris Jennerjohn was our fastest driver with a 2:51. I found that very hard to believe when Stephen Davis was showing at a 2:40.357, who also ran his fastest lap of the session. Stephen Davis, you are no. Let's see. That is not correct. Yeah, actually, we've got. No. See, our timing and scoring system has Chris Jennerjohn twice. That is the problem. But still, so I'm showing Chris Jennerjohn at a 2:51 as being your fastest Formula V, and I don't think that's actually correct. But Jennerjohn has run a 2:41.860. Stephen Davis, though, a 2:40.357. So my timing and scoring system doesn't seem to be the most accurate thing going right now. But I'm fairly certain that currently Stephen Davis is your fastest driver on track.
Absolutely. Fastest driver in Formula V. So, Nolan Allier still our fastest driver overall. He's in a Formula Ford car, and his fast lap at the moment is 2:18.918. And just a second and a half back or so is Matteo Naranjo. His fastest lap is a 2:20.471, and those are your two fast drivers here in Formula F. See, that's one I have a hard time with, because there's also the Fit engine now in Formula Ford, and that is one of those that I have a hard time getting right. So. All these classes evolve over time, especially if these older classes that have not necessarily all old cars, but they've been around the club for so long.
Sure.
There's an iteration.
Yeah, of course. And of course, in Formula F, which is such a what of course for years was known as Formula Ford. Right. It's still known as Formula Ford off in the UK.
Right.
And they have the big Formula Ford Festival each year, who the Estersons have done amazingly well at. A number of years ago, as those Kent motors had become more difficult to source, Honda stepped in with I believe the L series motor that was found in the Honda Fits, and had different kits for them, and so we see a lot of Honda powered cars in the class currently. And of course, in the last now 25 years or so, some big differences in aerodynamics and chassis development and suspension from prior versions of Formula Fords. At a number of regions in the SCCA run what is known as Club Ford, which are for those earlier iteration Formula Fs. Interesting to note, Brian, and I just saw this on the Twitter not yesterday, but 2 days ago, is that iRacing is bringing out what we're all just going to call Formula 1600 for now, but essentially the Formula Ford, Formula Fs for the iRacing platform. They kind of teased it, much like they teased Formula V 2 years ago. The big difference is they teased Formula V on April Fool's Day, so nobody thought it was actually going to happen.
Sneaky people.
But it's amazing, because we've had folks like Max Esterson, Nolan Allier, a whole bunch of Formula F drivers in real life, and FRP Pro F1600 drivers as well, jumping in and basically saying how awesome this is. And I think, frankly, the more practice that some of these kids, and I say kids, but these people coming out of karts and moving up through the Formula world, can get in those chassis in the online world before they necessarily get seat time in the real car, is certainly going to make for some better racing here. And we've got the checkered flag now out for our second qualifying session of the day. And just to let everybody what the schedule is here today, we are going to go through today our first 5 qualifying sessions. Groups 1 through 5, groups 6, 7, and 8 will be on track tomorrow morning, starting at 8 a.m. and we'll wrap up qualifying 2 sessions for all of our groups tomorrow morning before we go racing. Races tomorrow, again, starting somewhere just before 10 o'clock, around 9:50. They are 25-minute timed races, as we always do on the Super Tour. And then on Sunday, we will bring you racing from 8 o'clock in the morning till the afternoon. Those are our longer form races. They're 14 laps or 35 minutes, whichever comes first.
All right, let's just do let's do the top 3 in each class before we take a little breather here, before we start our next session. Your top 3 in Formula F are Nolan Allier, Matteo Naranjo, and Alan Opel.
Yeah, and with Allaire with a pole setting time of 2:18.599, so we'll call it a 2:18.6, 1.7 seconds off was Naranjo. And again, Naranjo looking to improve upon those 2 third-place finishes he had here in his SCCA debut a year ago. And then Opel with a 2:33.957. If we look at Formula 600.
Yep, you've got Keith Joslin in first, Chris Jennerjohn Jack Walbron in second, and F. Russell Straight Jr. in third in Formula 600.
There you go, and about 5.5 seconds separating those 3 drivers. And then in Formula V, we're going to have to figure this out, because I look at this and I still swear, Brian, that 239.9 is faster than 251 flat.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see whether or not our pole sitter, and as we get some information, we're going to get some result sheets in after the session is over. We'll fill you in there. Either Chris Jennerjohn or Stephen Davis, one of them is going to be your Formula V pole sitter. Then William Stasinski and Donnie Isley.
Yeah, I think when it all shakes out, it's going to be Davis, Straczynski, Jennerjohn, and Isley will be your top 4 in that. That's what my guess is.
Okay.
So, all right, let's do that. We're going to take a quick breather here, and we'll be back here in just a few minutes for the start of qualifying for group number 3.
Yeah, Spec Miata 90. Back in just a moment. And we're back here at Sebring International Raceway for round number 1 of the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. I'm Gregg Ginsberg and with Brian Bielanski. And
I'm afraid.
Yeah,
I am very, very afraid.
You're afraid. What about the car who's rolling off first right now? As we've got Spec Miata taking to the track here at beautiful Sebring International Raceway for 25 minutes of qualifying. This is a class that we have 90 drivers that qualified for.
So we had some questions about our timing pylon, and we've got some answers. People were asking, what do the different colored names represent? And it makes perfect sense to me now that I've been told what they mean. If you see a name in blue, that means that driver just turned a personal best lap. If you see a driver's name in purple, that means they own the fast lap for that class.
For that class, exactly.
So
very much like you see for those of you that sit in and watch Formula
Exactly.
1 or you know, all the different pro racing series. Though there you go, we're pro now.
So I'll be able to sound like Crofty and I'll be able to yell out, Rob Hines gone purple!
And that is definitely a possibility here right now. And look at that. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. If you take a look up at the top, and we know this is a request that's come in because we're working on the fly, and we want to definitely thank the great folks with DriversEye Live and Brennan over here, who's done some work and gotten our timing pylon so we can tell you exactly how much time is left in the session.
So the other thing is, it's green at the top. That means we're under green flag conditions. Now, don't be fooled because you're seeing double yellows on the corner on the camera here. The first lap of qualifying of every session is double yellow. It doesn't reflect it on the timing grid because they're showing double yellow to the corner so that the drivers know where the corner station is. They have a visual pickup. So we are in green flag conditions, although the drivers are being displayed a double yellow.
Yeah, and that's actually something for the Spec Miatas only.
Okay.
And it is solely because of the size of the group. That's the only group that we're going to see get a full course caution off of the grid. They're going to see that through turn 14.
Right.
And basically, when they get onto the Ullman Straight, they're going to have green flag for the session. Real quickly, I just wanted to loop back to our last group, Brian, as we're just now seeing the very last car leave the grid here. But in Formula V, we have some answers. Stephen Davis, your provisional, now your pole sitter, going into tomorrow's race with a qualifying time at 2:39.9. William Stasinski, second fastest at a 2:40.5. Chris Jennerjohn, third fastest at a 2:41.1, and then Donnie Isley at a 2:41.7. So let's do this. Let's quickly, Brian, take a look at qualifying this morning here for Spec Miata. And again, this was in the damp.
Right.
And I would be very surprised if we see any cars out of the 90 or so. And actually, we had 63 go out for qualifying this morning. If we see any cars over 3 minutes here, and even on the out lap with everybody taking a slow pace so that they can get all the cars on track. But Todd Burris, who's your 2019 national champion in Spec Miata, took that win the first time the runoffs were at VIR. He is your provisional pole sitter coming into this afternoon's qualifying, 3:02.05. Chuck McTudis with OPM Autosports out of Little Mountain, South Carolina, second fastest. He and Danny Stain have been working together, both of them driving for OPM, were paired up at the runoffs, and until the weather went crosswise, they looked like, I think, probably the favorites to take the win. Nick Leveroni, who was your 2019 T4 champion. He was your third fastest driver at a 3:03.0, so a full second off the pole. I don't think that matters given the wet conditions. Danny Stain, Noah Harmon, Jeremy Fletcher, Tom Annunziata, Rowan Gill, John Newdorf, Axel Cabrera, your top 10. And it's funny, I saw on Facebook this morning, somebody posted up a GIF or GIF of somebody doing a rain dance this morning, and they said, when Danny Stain hears rain at Sebring.
All right, here comes your cars coming in and out of 17 for the first time. So they're going to start crossing the start-finish line here in just a second. You'll start to see our timing and scoring pylon reflect those changes. Obviously, the early lap here, because of the full course yellow on the first lap of 4:01. Don't look at any of these times, folks.
No.
These mean nothing.
Right, but I'll tell you what we should be looking at. The first 4 cars across the line, Brian, were Todd Burris with teamed up with Nick Leveroni,
right,
and then Chuck McTudis and Danny Stain. Both of those sets of drivers nose to tail, and we'll see, much like we saw in Spec Racer Ford, a lot of these drivers trying to get together in pairs so that they can use the draft in order to set fast times. I think it's with 90 cars on track, or close to 90, and let me see how many drivers have taken to the track. 84 have crossed the line. What I think you're going to find is it's going to be very difficult to not find a drafting partner, just because there's going to be very little room on track to be running without one here. So we're still seeing cars come across the line for the moment, and we're going to have her up in the booth with us, I think, tomorrow. Lauren Bralier, she's your outlap champion. Lauren with a 3:36 and change. And Lauren this year, I think, committing to Spec Miata. She'd been running for the last couple of years in Formula V.
So one of the things you're seeing here is as we cycle through the cameras here, and it's tough to do during qualifying to follow race action because there really is no race action to follow. But once we get to race day and once we start racing, we are going to be following the racing action as you would think you'd see at in a big race coverage. Obviously there's static cameras, so that's a little bit different. But we will be able to focus in on your race leaders, as well as we're going to take some time and try to pick out good action back in the pack, and especially in our multi-class races, this is a little different because it's Spec Miata, and you'll notice that every single car number is red in this class because every single car is a Mazda Miata, Spec Miata car. But we'll be able to pick out some and be able to highlight some of the racing that's going on, not for the overall lead, but also for the class leads, and that's going to be something I'm really excited about bringing folks is to be able to tell those stories of what's happening a little further back in the field. So should be a lot of fun.
It should. So Brian, let's do this. Let's quickly let me make a call to the grid for our next group. Then we'll talk a little bit about a week ago at Homestead, because we had a little bit of drama in Spec Miata, man drama at Spec Miata at Homestead. Never. All right, so let's make that call to the grid for our next group. All right.
I think you've coined a new term, Miata drama.
Drama
Miata drama.
Believe me, the Spec Miata man drama. I'm not taking anything away from them. Probably the most popular Facebook group.
Is there an actual Facebook group?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So real quick, let's take a look a week ago at Homestead. Elvin Goulart, former national champion, I believe the 2011 Spec Miata national champion, took that win at Road America. He was your winner.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we can take a look at turn 13 here, we got a car in the tire wall off there. It was a light contact, but there's going to be a stand. You can see the car trying to get going again. So we've got a local yellow there while this car decides whether it's got enough to get going here again.
Yeah.
Now, it may be a little wet down there on the grass, too, from our early morning.
And that's likely what happened. That is coming out of turn 12 onto the Flying Fortress straight, and it's not uncommon for cars to drop wheels, go over the curbing there on the exit, and might have just gotten a little loose there and run all the way to the wall. But that car now back underway, and you can see the traffic coming through. So Elvin Goulart, our 2011 national champion, took the win on Saturday in what was, and this was last weekend at Homestead, in what was also a very large field, a 59-car field. Finishing second, Jim Drago, multi-time national champion, two-time national champion out of Memphis, Tennessee, the E Street Racing car. Then Danny Stain, Preston Pardis, I believe, are now our only three-time national champion. Brett Kowalski, your top five. As we went to the next day, Elvin Goulart, leading the Spec Miata race, day 2, has a transmission failure with 3 laps remaining on lap 18 of 21. He finishes back in the, I believe, 50th position, taking the win, though. Connor Zillage. Connor, who has finished on the podium now, finished on the podium at the runoffs, finished third at Indianapolis back in 2021, finished second last year at VIR. He's out of Mooresville, North Carolina. He's been putting in, I think, some time in Trans Am too, but he takes the win. Jim Drago comes in second. Frankie Barroso out of Miami Springs, Florida. He comes home with the third place finish. Danny Stain fourth, Nick Leveroni fifth. Preston Pardis finished sixth, and maybe the big surprise of the weekend here, Brian, also out of that E Street Racing stable, Nick Bruni, who is our reigning national champion, finished ninth both Saturday and Sunday at Homestead. So he's definitely looking to make his way up through the order here this weekend at Sebring.
Danny Stein, right now, your fast car with a 237.083. Charles Matudis is in second. Elvin Goulart third. Travis Wiley fourth, and Nick Leveroni is in fifth.
And I might also add that, and he was on waiting for us, Brian, at about 8:30 this morning. John Davison, who is Mr. Spec Miata Man Drama, sitting in the chat right now. So great to have him along. Hopefully he won't have anything bad to say about us after the weekend is over.
There you go.
All right, so there you go. So the two OPM teammates, as we mentioned, Danny Stain, a 237 flat, and a couple tenths up on his teammate Charles Matudis, Chuck Matudis. Elvin Goulart, who we were just talking about, obviously got the transmission swapped out. He's currently your third fastest driver. Travis Wiley, who was also Travis Wiley at the runoffs this past year, was another driver who I believe Sports Car Magazine had picked to win, had actually won the first gear championship for drivers under 25 in Spec Miata. He is currently your fourth fastest driver. He's out of Austin, Texas, in that number 177 machine. Nick Leveroni currently running in fifth. And like I said, if we saw any drivers that were over 3 minutes, I'd be very surprised. Obviously, all of our drivers now, our fastest drivers, down in the 237s. As a matter of fact, Brian, if we take a look now, we have our top 16 drivers all within 1 second of one another, and sitting right on that bubble. We talked about it before. Robbie Hines, who is a national champion in his own right in the touring classes. He's driving the number 4 machine. My former neighbor used to live right down the street from me in Arlington, Virginia. And Jim Drago in the number 2 machine. He is currently running 17th.
So looking at our timing and scoring pylon here, and if you see a car in purple, that means that car is the fast car for that class. So there you see it. Ilvan Goulart has taken the top spot in Spec Miata, and then that's helpful when we've got multiple classes to be able to know which class. But then also, if you see a car in blue, that means that they've just turned their personal best lap for the weekend. Look at how many blue drivers there are right now. Every lap, the track's getting more rubber because a lot of it was taken off over the wet.
Yeah.
So every lap, these guys are going faster and faster. So there's a lot of work left to do here.
Yeah, indeed.
We're halfway through the qualifying session, so this is a good time for us to take a quick break. You are watching the Hoosier Tire SCCA Super Tour from Sebring International Raceway.
Shop anytime, anywhere with the Summit Racing app.
For more than 100 years, Sunoco, SCCA's official fuel partner since 2001, has been fueling victories both on and off the track, which is why Sunoco has trusted the fuel over 50 series of racing, driving, and winning, including the SCCA National Championship runoffs, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRaceFuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS. For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit HawkPerformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you? Mazda Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your racing weekend with Mazda Vineyards and learn more at enjoymazda.com.
Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, brakes, and suspension products for racer. Sports Car Club of America since 1995 and sponsor of the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trials Nationals and National Tour, and Track Night in America. Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
Want to get out on track but not quite ready to dive into the wheel-to-wheel action you're seeing this weekend? Check out Track Night in America, driven by Tire Rack. The one-day, low-pressure, fun with your street car events at more than 30 racetracks across the country. It's where you can go as fast as you want, learn from stellar coaches, and leave with a big old smile. Visit tracknightinamerica.com to learn more.
All right, Brian, and just as we went to break, we had a car off in one of the tire walls here, and we went to a black flag all. And so we've got now just a little bit less than 10 minutes, actually about 9 minutes remaining in the qualifying session. And with that, we'll have to see if we can get these cars back out on track. But of course, the amount of time that's necessary here, and I think we're taking a look at it, Brian, and it's our same trouble spot,
right?
Coming out of turn 12 onto the Flying Fortress straight. We've got that car up against the tire wall. We'll have to see if we can get things cleaned up. The emergency services teams here at Sebring are amazingly fast, and I've seen that over since I've been coming here back since 2017. But these drivers are going to have to go and run an out lap. That's going to be about 3 minutes, and then you take a look at it. I don't know if there'd be enough time to get another flying lap in. So we'll see. We're still displaying the black flag here, and we'll let you know if we go to a checkered flag and whether we end out the qualifying session. So real quick, while we've got a little bit of time, Brian,
yep.
We talked about what happened at Homestead last week. If we take a look back a full year, and this is like jogging memory for me. Actually, I wasn't here last year, so it's more than jogging memory. Elvin Goulart took the win on Saturday here at Sebring, but on Saturday, he took the win on Sunday. Let's try that again. He took the win on Saturday. Tyler Gonzalez, who finished second in the short form race, the 25-minute race on Saturday here, he took the win on Sunday. And Tyler, he's out of St. Cloud, Florida. I know he's been running in, I believe, touring car in SRO. Charles McTudis finished second. Connor Zilich came home with the bronze. And then Danny Stain and Todd Burris finished fourth and fifth. Elvin Goulart, who had won the day before, home in sixth. But, this is one of the things, and I think everybody, I've talked about this on the Super Tour for years and at the runoffs for years, Brian. The way you see racing in Spec Miata, you can have a train of 5, 6, 7, 11 cars, and you probably don't know until the very last corner
exactly
who is going to get the win here. It's always very tight, and it's definitely a chess match, as these drivers are all within millimeters of the back bumpers of one another. So we'll see how things play out. But as we stand now under black flag conditions, and we're running it down on the timing pylon right now, Elvin Goulart is your provisional pole sitter.
And as we just saw on the screen, that car has now been picked up. It's already in motion. I'm going to guess by the time they get back to pit lane, there's going to be about 4 minutes left in this session, and that should be enough to get one good flying lap. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, so your provisional pole sitter at the moment is Elvin Goulart, driver of the number 70 machine. He's out of Shelton, Connecticut, with a time of 2:36.708. Chuck McTudis, your second fastest driver, almost 0.3 of a second off of Goulart's times at a 2:37.004. Then we've got his OPM Autosports teammate Danny Stain, 3rd fastest. Todd Burris, 4th fastest. Travis Wiley, Nick Leveroni, Tyler Quantz. Tom Annunziata now moving into the picture. He is 9th fastest, or probably 8th fastest. Then Jeremy Fletcher, 9th fastest. Spencer Lofton is now your 10th fastest driver, as the field is now out on track, and man, are they already hightailing it. We saw that very slow motion as they left the grid to start this session, and a very different look here as the drivers were leaving the pit lane to try to get that flying lap done, to try and get at least one, and we don't think there's going to be enough time for it, but possibly 2 flying laps here to round out the session. And they were on it coming out of turn 3, going underneath the first of the 2 pedestrian bridges and into the hairpin over at turn 7. Now, if we take a look through the field here, some other notables, and again, this qualifying session here is going to set the grid for tomorrow's race, tomorrow's 25-minute race. Nick Bruni, your reigning national champion, 14th fastest, or probably 13th fastest. Preston Pardis, 15th fastest. Robbie Hines, Jim Drago, 16th and 17th fastest. If we jump through, Jason Fichter, who has finished in the top 10 many times here on the Super Tour, currently 23rd fastest. I mean, it is such large field and so tight that as we mentioned, we've got now close to 16 or 17 cars all within a second of one another, and so things could change very quickly here as we've got drivers now, as you can see, going down the Flying Fortress straight through turn 14, and then coming over to Le Mans into that series of S's, all lined up. You can see coming through there, there's Chuck McTudis and Danny Stain, the first 2 cars in a very large train, as these drivers are all trying to get that draft together. We now have drivers coming across the start-finish line ahead of that group, and starting a flying lap now with 21 and a half minutes left in the books. So about 3.5 minutes we may get 2 flying laps, simply because those drivers were so quick on the outlap, at least for the first drivers off the pit lane at the tail end of that field. And we had 86 drivers go out to set times. Of those 86 drivers, there may be some that cannot get in a flying lap. And as we're looking through here, as we see the drivers coming out of turn 6 and heading down, making that run down towards the hairpin, and we have apparently maybe you had a car that went off briefly over at turn 16 on the outlap. Yeah, 127. That's Jared Odrick, and we'll talk a little bit more about Jared, I think, as the state goes on. Spun off, and I believe one other car along with him, the 38 of Edward Zemek on that outlap. Both spun, both continued. So they're going to be towards the rear end of that pack. Like I said, we'll talk about Jared, I think, when we get into some of our touring cars a little bit later. Well, neat story with him.
And the 2 things you've got consideration for here, or 3 things. You might think that getting in and cooling off the tires a little bit might make for a good fast lap. The problem is you all go back out in a pack and you don't really get a chance to get a good clean lap.
Right.
And any lap that starts before the checkered flag flies counts. So they will be able to finish that lap, and that time will count towards their qualifying if it's a faster lap than what they've had before. So.
Exactly, Brian. And so we've got now just a minute and a half left on the clock. And I think, Brian, when we had these drivers leave the grid, the first cars that rolled off were hightailing it. Some of these drivers may indeed get an opportunity to put in 2 flying laps before this session is over.
Right.
Here, and we're
Well, and here's the other thing that could happen is depending on how they came off the track of the black flag, you might have a couple of drivers at the front of that first ones off who were not able to get clean laps earlier.
That's right.
Who could now fly in here and grab a clean lap, and some of the names at the top may change. I mean, we've got our new. Well, that might not be right. I've got Amy Mills at the top, but with a 103. So that's probably a little hiccup with the timing system because of the black flag.
Exactly.
But yeah, so you might get a
well, and here's one, Brian. Right now, Preston Pardis, who we were just talking about, was mired down in like 15th or 16th position. He is your new fast driver on track, 3-time national champion. Puts in a 236.622. I don't think we could call this his home track. I think we call Daytona's home track. As the checkered flag is now being displayed, so all flying laps here will count. It's Preston Pardis, it's Elvin Goulart, Brett Kowalski in the number 15 machine out of Las Cruces, New Mexico, turns in a 236.807. And that was almost a second and a half faster than his previous fast lap, Brian. So he made up a ton of positions there. Robbie Hines now fourth fastest. Hines puts in a 236.863. Nick Bruni, reigning national champion, a 236.886. Jim Drago only 18 thousandths of a second off of that. Sixth fastest Axel Cabrera. And maybe here's the big change is Chuck McTutis, who, and we'll see if he's still out on track for the moment. Chuck McTutis, who was our second fastest driver for a while, he's now currently your 8th fastest driver on track.
And if you look at the timing, Pardis, Kowalski, Hines, Bruni, Drago, and Cabrera all got their fast laps in this final lap.
Absolutely.
So my guess is that they were able to take advantage and be some of the first cars off once we went green again. That gave them an opportunity, because I was looking at Rob Hines. He was mired back in 15th before the black flag, which means he didn't get off early.
Both he and Jim Drago, who I think the two of them were paired up at that point.
So that's one of those situations where the black flag helped some and didn't help others.
Did not help others. And so we're going to wait here as we have drivers still on their last flying laps. Now there is an issue. We have another car that has left the track surface and impacted a tire wall. And that is the 47 car just on the outside of turn 1. And so a lot of our drivers may have seen a local caution at turn 1 that may have impacted their ultimate times on their last flying laps.
Right.
So we'll see here as we still have a number of drivers coming through, and as a matter of fact, I see Pardis right now coming through our final corner, coming through the Sunset Bend and onto the front straight. Great shot there as you see him coming out of Sunset, going underneath that Michelin bridge and across the start-finish line. Well, now going to provisional pole and jumping from 9th fastest now to your pole, Tyler Gonzalez out of St. Cloud in the 157 machine, a 236.586, 36 thousandths of a second faster than Preston Pardis, our 3-time national champion. Axel Cabrera currently 3rd fastest. Elvin Goulart falls down to 4th fastest with Rob Hines now 5th fastest. And it looks as though we're trying to see, we've got a couple cars now coming out of the final corner.
Yeah, but nobody's going to come across the line because everyone's going.
They're all going into the pit. They're going into the pit lane. So I think that is it for Spec Miata, Brian. Let's take a look again. We'll take a look at our top 10. And again, we had, top 10. That is only about 1/9 of what we had out on course. We had, I think, actually 87 cars take times today. Tyler Gonzalez out of St. Cloud, Florida, going into tomorrow's 25-minute race. He is your pole sitter, starting from the outside of row number 1. Driver the number 42 machine, the E Street Racing Miata of Preston Pardis. Axel Cabrera, he's going to start 3rd with Elvin Goulart in the number 70 SCDA machine, starting on the outside of row number 2 and 4th. Then we've got Robbie Hines and Jim Drago. They're going to make up row number 3. Nick Bruni, our reigning national champion, and Brett Kowalski, who for a moment was sitting in the top 3. He now finds himself starting 8th. Bruni and Kowalski are going to make up row number 4, and then the 2 OPM teammates starting 9th and 10th, Chuck McTudis, Denny Stain. That's going to round out your top 10 in Spec Miata.
All right, I need to go and fan myself.
Yes.
And because this was fast and furious, no question. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have our qualifying session for race group number 4. That's all next. You are listening to the Hoosier Tire Super Tour on from Sebring International Raceway.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit hawkperformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA's Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant, customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. Realizing Hoosier's existence and continued success is dependent upon how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see one of our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Tire racing dealer nearest you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly designed for champions. Summit Racing is proud to support SCCA racers through the Road Racing Contingency Program. Run the required decals to be eligible for contingency payouts. Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, brakes, and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts both on the street and on the track. As official tire retailer of Sports Car Club of America since 1995 and sponsor of the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trials Nationals and National Tour, and Track Night in America, Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
All right, and we are back here at Sebring International Raceway for the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. I'm Gregg Ginsberg along with Brian Bielanski, and we've got our next group heading out on track. Brian, that's our small bore, our primarily production car classes.
Yeah, production and B-Spec.
Yep.
So, and one thing I want to let the people listening and watching from home know is that we've got 5 qualifying sessions today. That means 3 of our race groups aren't going to qualify until tomorrow morning starting at 8 a.m. So, and we will have those for you live as well on the live stream. So groups 6, 7, and 8 will qualify first thing tomorrow morning, and then we will get our first race of the weekend of round 1. We'll start right around 9:50.
Right. And Brian, just for those at home that don't know what groups 6, 7, and 8 are, a first group that's going to be out are going to be our large open wheel classes: Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, Formula Enterprises 2, which is always a very hotly contested, very large class. Our prototype cars as well, and then we're going to round out qualifying with 2 different touring car tin top classes. We're going to have Super Touring Light and Super Touring Under in Group 7, and then we're going to have Touring 2, Touring 3, and Touring 4. Making up our last qualifying session in the morning before we get back to racing and Spec Racer Ford.
I just saw a car drive off at the exit or the entrance of turn 3 straight off. Didn't catch the car number as they went, but hopefully they got to a safe spot so we don't have to worry about slowing down there. That's like a runoff there.
Actually, just to the left we had on that view is an access road that cuts between turn 3 and the Flying Fortress Straight over to the left.
That's a way to get a fast lap.
Yeah, well, I think that's how Amy Mills jumped to the top of I think that's how Amy jumped to the top of the timing charts for a while. In Spec Miata. All right, so as we mentioned, we've got our production car classes: E production, F production, and H production. We've got B Spec, but we also have GT Light out on track right now. Now, it was actually very funny that when this group was out on track for their morning qualifying session, the folks on the grid were asking us to make calls to try and get additional people to go out for qualifying session. We only had 7 drivers go out for qualifying, and I think already now we have 30 different drivers who have gone out for this session. It was probably at the height of the precipitation and rain that we had this morning when this group went on track. Let's quickly, and I don't think we need to spend a lot of time here mulling over this, because I'm sure that each one of these polls is going to be reset. Fastest driver on track, Sean Sikis in his 1986 Mazda RX-7. He's out of Jacksonville representing the Buccaneer region. He turned in a 258.797. Brian Heitman was our second fastest E-production driver in an MX-5 Global Cup car. Right. He's out of Kansas City. And he turned into 3:10.565, almost 12 seconds off of the provisional pole. John Bell in his third-gen Mazda RX-7 out of St. Mary, Florida, was your third fastest driver. Then we had Stephen Clark, and it was actually Stephen's girlfriend was sending me pictures from the grid of the how filled things were over there. Stephen, in his F-production Mazda Miata, he's out of Salem, Virginia, was your fastest and only F-production driver on track. Lee Davis, our sole B-Spec driver on track in his 09 Mini Cooper, and Stephanie Funk. And we'll talk about Stephanie, I think, a little bit this session.
Yeah, she's had an interesting week.
Yeah, very interesting week. Stephanie in the number 59 Honda CRX out of Greenfield, Massachusetts. She was our sole H-production driver.
So taking a look at our scoring pylon, if you see it right now, we're looking at the GTL class in orange. So when you learn that your class that you're interested in is in orange, when we go to the full field pylon, the orange cars on that pylon are going to be your GTL cars. The green pylon, it looks like here, the green numbers are H production.
That's correct.
And as they cycle through, you will be able to see which class you might be particularly following. You're following at home and there's a particular driver you want. You'll know once we cycle through the pylon a couple of times. Here's your B-Spec cars in yellow and nice 7-car field in B-Spec. So that's how you'll be able to see the visual cues that we're able to give you through our system here. And because I know when you tune in from home, you're tuning in because you've got a driver out here you want to watch. So that's how you pick up your favorite driver, and then you know how to follow along from home. So.
All right, so let's take a look here as, again, we've got our drivers heading out on track right now, and your outlap champion for for Friday the 13th. It's Ken Kennard in the number 51 Mazda Miata. Actually, talk about brain freeze here. Ken Kennard, not the 51 Mazda Miata. Ken Kennard driving the 1995 Jesse Prather Motorsports Acura Integra.
Okay.
That he took out for the first time at the runoffs this past year at Virginia International Raceway in Carter. That has great provenance.
Yeah.
Mark Carpenter took 2 national championships in that machine, and 2 years ago, Rick Harris took a podium position in that Acura Integra. Well, on the outlap, it's your fastest car on course, and I might also add that at a 248.914, Ken Kennard is your overall pole sitter right now, because he was faster than on his outlap, faster than any driver in qualifying session number 1 today.
Right.
But there you go. But it's so great to see here. Louis Bastani, who used to race in IT, I believe in IT Volkswagens, in his E-Production Mazda Miata. He's out of Melbourne, Florida, the number 11 car. Great to see him out here this weekend. And as we mentioned, a lot of a good-sized B-Spec field. And in GT Light, some folks, Paul Mavoli in his Nissan Sentra is always strong here at Sebring. We'll see how these drivers do, and tell you what, let's quickly, Brian, here take a look to Homestead last week, where taking the win in E-Production, and I believe driving once again the Porsche 944 that Kip Van Steenberg has set so many track records, including here at Sebring. In Gregg Ira took the win on Saturday in E-Production, and on Sunday took the win as well. And that car is, to say it's a dominant car just wouldn't be stating it enough. Had a 20-second gap back to the rest of the field on Saturday. He was a little off his pace on Sunday, only about 6.5 seconds back to our second place runner. But Gregg, great running there, took the win in F Production. And he's here this weekend. Mark Weber, amazing sports car photographer when he's not behind the wheel of his Mazda Miata, took the wins both Saturday and Sunday. He's representing the St. Louis region.
Oh, we got a car drifting right there through turn 5.
Yeah, turn 5.
That was pretty amazing to catch that. He was all send there and collected it back through. I mean, it looked like he was ice racing in northern Wisconsin in January, not at Sebring.
Sebring in the middle of January.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little sand and dirt and dust there on the pavement.
Sure, we'll say that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Chris Copley, in his GT Light, and I like to refer to it as a mini. I remember racing against Chris like 13 years ago up at Watkins Glen. His GT Light Mini, he's out of Easton, Connecticut. He took the win both days. And in B-Spec, a little bit smaller B-Spec field down at Homestead on Saturday, Kent Carter, driver of, and I believe he was driving his Honda Fit. He's out of Houston, Texas. Great SCCA family. He and his wife Diane very many times works timing and scoring. He's out of the Houston region. He took the win on Saturday. Frank Schwartz finished second. Chris Taylor from Chris Taylor Ring Services came home in third, and on Sunday it was a little bit different. Chris Taylor took the win. Kent Carter finished second. Frank Schwartz came home in third.
Right.
But I love watching B-Spec racing. Everybody knows me. No, it does, because much like Spec Miata, much like Spec Race Ford, the racing across many different types of cars, so incredibly close.
Absolutely. And Frank Schwartz, we've had him on the Inside the SCCA podcast several times. He's worked really hard to resurrect that class. At one point in time, there was a chance it was going to lose its national status, and he's helping several classes do that same process to kind of breathe some life in it. So he's really a member of the club who is a doer, not just a talker and complainer. And I really appreciate all of the work that he's done and he I refer to him as the Bob Newhart of the podcast because he's been on 3 times.
Yes, I think maybe only eclipsed by Larry McLeod.
Maybe, yeah. So,
all right, Brian, here real quick. Let me make a call to the grid for our last qualifying session of the day, and then we'll get back to all the action here in small bore. All right, so let's take a look at the action now as we are 10 minutes into this 25-minute qualifying session for small bore. Fastest driver on track, as he was last time, Ken Kennard, now with 3 flying laps in the books. Provisional pole time in the F production Acura Integra, a 231.139. Michael Chameleon in the number 99 Mazda Miata out of Marietta, Georgia, a 232.273, so 1.1 separating Chameleon from our provisional pole sitter. Third fastest driver on track is Paul Mavoli in his GT Lite Nissan Sentra. He's out of Treasure Island, Florida, 233.2, his fastest time. Then Louis Bastani, Doug Piner, 4th and 5th fastest. Both of those drivers running in E-Production. So Bastani, currently your E-Production provisional pole sitter, just turned his fastest lap at 233.348. That's just about 1 full second up on Doug Piner. Bastani in a Mazda Miata, Piner in a BMW Z3. And if we go and break things down, let's look here also, if we jump a little bit further back in the field, in H Production, out of Dunedin, Florida, in his 87 Volkswagen Scirocco, Mike Ogren, your current H Production pole sitter. He's got a 12-second advantage right now over Charlie Guest in his Austin Healey Sprite. Mike Miller and Stephanie Funk rounding out the top 4. And in B-Spec, Frank Schwartz, currently your provisional pole sitter, a 247.2. That is almost 2.4 seconds up on Kent Carter and Clay Keel. Stephanie Anderson currently sitting right outside the top 3. And I mentioned Chris Taylor, who took that win at Homestead. As he does at many of these races, he's got about 15 cars that he has to work and prepare for drivers to put on course across multiple classes. He's sitting this weekend out in B-Spec.
all right, it's just a great amount of action here, and it's like every time I look at a camera, there's a half a dozen cars coming through, and it's just really been fun to watch this and kind of get an idea of what we're seeing here for the first time. Here comes that Prather-built Mazda Miata that just came through, and right behind it is the Acura of Ken Kennard there. That's that red-white car that just came through. And really, that's a really well put together automobile.
Yes, it
I guess that might be the understatement.
Yeah, it might be the understatement statement. I don't know how to respond to that.
As soon as I said it, I'm like, that was dumb. Oh, I love it.
All right, no, not so bad, Brian. All right, so let's see here as we take a look at a couple other drivers out on course. Stephen Clark in that Mazda Miata. And that, I'll tell you, I used to race against Stephen's car. Was driven for many years by Dr. Rich Fohl, which I know if you say it very quickly may have negative. It's Fohl, I swear. And Stefan picked that up to replace his what was essentially an ITA car on steroids. This car was built as an F production car from the scratch, and has a much I think is more in line for what he is used to. And I know he was praying for rain at the runoffs this past year as he showed up on the grid with his Hoosier H2Os and thought he had the horse for the course. Didn't quite play out for him during the race, though. He is currently 4th fastest in the class. Richard Gallup and your double winner from Homestead running 5th and 6th currently. In B-Spec, Kent Carter just ran his fastest lap of the race and actually Kent has moved over from a Honda Fit. He's now in a Mazda 2 and just turned in a 2:49.692. It's still a little bit over 2 seconds off of Frank Schwartz's times.
Right.
And I'll have to double check. I'm pretty sure that Frank actually holds the track record here in B-Spec. And I'll...
Well, you're looking that up. Let's take a break. We got about 10 minutes left in the session. You're watching the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour from Sebring International Raceway.
Hagerty is the official and exclusive insurance partner for the Sports Car Club of America. Hagerty provides affordable off-track insurance protection for motorsports vehicles while in the paddock, in transit, in storage, and at the shop. They provide guaranteed value coverage and even have protection for your trailers. SCCA members can save 5% on insurance through Hagerty. Learn more at Hagerty.com. Hagerty, let's drive together. For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit HawkPerformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
Winning takes work. Getting parts is easy. SummitRacing.com.
Mazda Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your racing weekend with Mazda Vineyards and learn more at EnjoyMazda.com.
SCCA Super Tour, where we bring together the top SCCA road racers from around the country to compete in the premier amateur road racing series. The Hoosier Super Tour visits some of the greatest racetracks in North America, showcasing 27 car classes and packing a ton of wheel-to-wheel racing action into every event. And you can now enjoy the live stream coverage of the Hoosier Super Tour events on-site or from the comfort of your own home. Find those details and more at scca.com/live. All right, 7 minutes, a little less than 8 minutes left to go in the session. No real changes up at the top of the rundown here. You've got Ken Kennard, your pole sitter at the moment, with a fast lap of 228.910, followed by Michael Kamalian, Doug Piner, Paul Mavoli, and Louis Bustani is in fifth.
All right, and there you go. And if we break things down here by class, of course, Kennard, Kamalian, Aarons, your top three in F production, with Piner, Bustani, Tucker. Your top three is Don Tucker joins the conversation here, and he's only 1.6 seconds off provisional pole now in E production. And then if we take a look at H production, it is still Mike Ogren and Charles Guest. Stephanie Funk just runs her fastest lap of the race, but the qualifying session puts in a 250.2. That now moves her up to third in H production. And in GT Light, it's Mavoli, Leonard, and David Blaine. And so, let's talk a second here about Stephanie Funk, Brian. And these are the neat little stories that we, even this early in the season, that we see on the Super Tour. So Stephanie, she was, I believe, and let me get the years. I believe it was 2017 and 2018. Let's see here. Let me double check. She was your 2017 and 2018 Northeast Majors points champion in that number 59 Honda CRX. Had great seasons, 2 in a row. Took a couple years off. She's been motorcycle racing, and I always told people I'd never get on a motorcycle because I thought I'd kill myself after being in a car. You know, I'm okay now on the street, but she races these motorcycles. She's got knees down, amazing.
Yeah.
600cc. I think she was actually out on like a 125cc. She's been doing motorcycle race instructing as well. She brings the CRX back out. Her husband Ed, they cart the CRX down the Homestead last week, and right out of the box, Stephanie takes the win at Homestead, which was just absolutely amazing to see. But on Sunday, in what was a really tightly contested race, there was a full course caution. As they came out of the caution, she was door to door with another H-Prod competitor who got a little bit loose. She went to avoid, ended up in the grass with that competitor, and there was some contact. And she still managed to bring the car home, and I think she brought the car home, Brian, in, I think she still ended up finishing second on Sunday in H production. Let me just double check that, because I know like 50 people will come back and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That would never ever happen. But yeah, she came home in second, and there was definitely some damage to the car. She had, and maybe take a little bit over here. She had to fly home for work.
Right. So you know, we race. You know, most of us have day jobs.
Right.
We don't do this full time, especially the racers. It is amateur racing, so people have to go home to work to be able to pay for this thing. And so they did Homestead. She flew back to to Massachusetts, and while her husband and the crew members worked down here to get the car fixed between race weekends, and then she got caught up in the whole flight delay debacle that I did trying to get out here as well. So quite an eventful weekend, but the car definitely put back together, and here out qualifying today. So a bit of a thrash to get the car ready for the weekend, but she's here, and she's doing her best to try to get that car up to speed, and it's been quite an adventure. Let's just say that. There
you go. All right, so we've got. I should mute myself when I'm about ready to talk. We've got a local caution now, Brian, over at turn one.
Oh, okay.
The 151 machine. That's Richard Gallup in his F production Mazda Miata, dead stick, just coming off the pit lane.
Right.
So they are looking to try and get him moved out of the way. They think he's in a bad position there for cars coming out of turn one. So we'll see, but for the time being, again, just the local caution down there, but we are otherwise green flag racing around.
And depending on how long that local caution sticks around, that may mean that with 3 minutes left in the session, that what we see is what we get as far as fast laps in this session. So definitely 3 minutes to go here, and we're running out of time to get more fast laps in, even with. And I'm listening here right now to see what the deal is with. There was also a problem. A car was off at turn 10, and I didn't hear who that was or what the situation is. Yeah, and it sounds like it's between turn 10 and 11 there, and they've got the car on the pavement there. They've got a waving yellow. So that's obviously, I think, at this point, going to make it very difficult for drivers, as you mentioned now, with only about 2.5 minutes remaining here in qualifying to put in any more fast laps. Good to see in the chat people were like the drift I commented on earlier in the race. John Davidson, yeah, that was a sick drift. P1 with a signature drift caught on camera. Laugh out loud. Guess he got some heat in the rear tires. That's Charlie Kramer. So that's the cool part about this system is now the people at home can chime in and talk about their favorite driver. They can say awesome things about the announce team, and if they want to, and if they don't, well, that's okay. But it's really fun to be able to interact back and forth. JPM Motorsports, loving the coverage. We appreciate that. We're loving bringing it to you. I don't know if you've heard that in our voices, but this is as much fun for us here as it is for you guys at home, I hope. And we're just going to keep growing and enjoying this. So There's still a minute and a half left in the session, and it does not appear that they're going to get that move before the session's over.
No, certainly not.
So
why don't we do this, Brian? We may have some small changes in lap times here, and actually Paul Mavoli just ran his fastest lap of the session, not of the race.
Right.
As did Joe Rainey. Mavoli in his GT Light Nissan Sentra, who moved up to 4th fastest overall. He is your provisional pole sitter in GTL. Just put in his fastest lap. Joe Rainey in the number 24 MX-5 Cup car, that's the E-Production entry, just ran his fastest lap of the session at a 2:35 as well. But I think at this point we're probably not going to have any more fast laps set. So let's take a look here. It sounds like we're going to have to get some cars hauled off with some assistance at the end of the session here. Ken Kennard, driver of the number 51 F-Production Acura Integra. He is, as the checkered flag is now coming out, and the last flying laps will count, but again, we don't think it's going to change much. Ken Kennard, at the moment, your provisional pole sitter. Michael Kamalian in the number 99 F-Production Mazda Miata should be starting next to him on the outside of row number 1. We're then going to have Doug Piner in his E-Production BMW Z3. He'll start 3rd. On the outside of row number 2, Paul Mavoli in his GT Light Nissan Sentra out of Treasure Island, Florida. That's the number 15 car. 3rd row, Louis Bastani in the E-Production Mazda Miata, and then Charlie Leonard in his Nissan 200 SX. So we've got the Sentra and the not quite named Sentra, the 200 SX, going to start in front of the other on the third and fourth rows.
Definitely. And Brian Donati that talks about us as being the 2 best faces not on camera.
Yes.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
I appreciate that, and I resemble that remark. But that's signature Brian.
That's right, Brian. And I think I bet you, Brian, my announce partner for Mid Atlantic Road Racing Series. He was our producer for the Inside the SCCA podcasts at the runoffs this year.
He's going to get less pay at the runoffs. By the way.
That's absolutely right. All right, let's take a look, Brian, at H Production, where Mike Ogren, driver of the number 199. The 199 Volkswagen Scirocco, he is your pole sitter in the class. And I'm trying to see where he's scheduled to start overall, and for some reason I can't find him. There he is, scheduled to start 16th overall. Charlie Guest in his 67 Austin Healey Sprite qualified 2nd in H Production, scheduled to start 17th. And then 3rd fastest is Stephanie Funk, scheduled to start 23rd. In B-Spec, finally, to wrap things up for the session, Frank Schwartz, your fastest B-Spec driver with a time of 2:45.204. He's scheduled to start 19th, so on the inside of row number 10. Kent Carter, who took a win at Homestead just last week, his Mazda 2, a fast time of 2:48.545, so almost 3.3 seconds separating Schwartz and Carter on track, but they are going to make up row number 10. Then we've got Clay Keel and Stephanie Anderson going to start right behind them in row number 11.
All right, let's take a breath, and we will be back here in just a few minutes as we get ready for our final qualifying session of the day. That's going to be for Group 5, so it's all of our, we call it Big Board, GT1, GT2, GT3, GTX, Touring 1, and A Sedan. And we may have a little treat for people in this qualifying session, so stick around. We got a little something that we're going to hope to get on the live stream here. So we'll be back with that in just a moment. You are listening and watching to the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour from Sebring International Raceway. Welcome back to the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour Round 1 of the 2023 season from Sebring International Raceway. Round 1 qualifying for race group number 5, GT1, GT2, GT3, GTX, T1, and a sedan. I am Brian Bielanski. Gregg Ginsberg is here with me this weekend, and for almost all weekends we're going to be together.
That's right. And let's not forget today, Brennan Kismerick, who is our director and our producer today, who is doing an awesome job there right over our shoulders, bringing you all these great views and everything else here for our first event of the season. Yes, of course, for almost every weekend here on the Super Tour, Brian, you and I are going to be working together a few things. We're going to be bringing in some great guests and maybe some guest voices. I know I've got a couple of commitments during the season that I won't be here, but
there'll be one race where I'm not there. Watkins Glen, my kids graduating from high school, and I feel like divorce would happen if I chose to go to Watkins Glen rather than be here for graduation. Right. No, I really want to be there.
And I think Brian Donati would divorce me if I didn't show up at Summit Point Raceway for the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series. So there you go. All right, so we've got cars on course, and another group here. Surprise, Brian, when you've got cars with hundreds and hundreds of foot-pounds of torque and tons of horsepower, that when it pours down rain, they don't go out for qualifying. And so we had 4 drivers go out for qualifying this morning. Matt Butson was the fastest of the bunch in his GT1 Ford Mustang. He's out of Snohomish, Washington, so he's brought that car.
He might get the award for farthest tow of the season so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Him and Scotty B. White.
Actually, and we'll see if Scotty B's out there.
Before you go any further,
yes,
look at what you're seeing on the television screen right here. This is James Candelaria. He is in a T1 Corvette.
Yeah, one of the Phoenix Performance Corvettes out here this weekend, and great to see this car out. Had a win at Homestead just a week ago.
Yep.
And it's great. First off, we should also mention that James puts together these video systems, so he certainly can provide a lot of great video to us. But we'll talk here. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I say we're going to talk a lot about this on our podcast coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're going to set it up all for you. So if you have a car and you're coming to a Super Tour, what you can do to help us out and get your camera and your car live on the feed. James and I are going to get together. We're going to do a whole podcast on how his system works and all of that kind of stuff. So if you want to be front and center here on the Super Tour live streams, we're going to hook you up.
Yeah, there you go. And so Candelaria, he lives down in Florida now, originally up from the Washington, D.C. area about 4 years ago. Horrendous
wreck.
Crash at the Summit Point Majors. A lot of rehab. He got back in the car about a year ago, and he's been working back up. Great to see him. And as I said, a week ago at Homestead, took a win one day, and he had some wonderful things to say about his Phoenix Performance teammates that kept his car on track and running on Sunday after some mechanical issues. But great to see James back now.
Well, and before you go, hopefully we could get right from the start straight and do a full lap with him so we can talk people around the 17 corners here. We'll do that somewhere a little bit later in this qualifying session.
We could talk all day long about how bumpy and how challenging it is to make it around 3.7 miles, 17 turn Sebring. But until you see it in a race car like James's Corvette, that's it's really tough to fathom sometimes. So we'll definitely bring that up for you. Now we also had James Keown in his BMW, I think the Thunder Bunny Racing BMW M2. He's out of Virginia Beach.
Okay, wait. Yeah. The Thunder Bunny Racing?
Absolutely, yes.
I love it.
Yeah, he and, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I'm forgetting her name. Laura Hayes.
Yes.
Yeah, and Thunder Bunny was racing in MX5 Cup this past season. Laura Hayes. BMW driver as well. Jared Odrick. Now, we saw Jared inspect Miata just a little while ago. I think we're going to see him out here again here, and we'll take a look in just a moment. Out in his GT2 Porsche 911 Cup car, And Jared's a real neat story, and I've got a little bit of a connection to this, so we'll talk about it also in a moment here. And then Gary Crook in what I think is the very first Chevrolet C8 Corvette that I have seen in SCCA touring racing here. Gary, former national champion in prototypes out of Pensacola, Florida, so nearby, and he's got a beautiful car out on track today.
All right, so we're going to pick up this hot lap here. This is the James Candelaria car. We're going to do a full lap with him here. This is him coming out of turn 17 onto the front straight here. This is the second longest straightaway here at Sebring, right across the start-finish line. He's going to drift out far right here. You're going to see the stop, the brake markers on the right, and then he's going to slow down, bring it in on the left-hand side here to catch right after this marker. He would normally cut it closer, but he was being passed by one of these GT2 cars, so that the proper line.
Yeah, I was going to say our GT1 national champion, Thomas Herb, just came underneath them there.
Definitely. So here's coming out of 3 and 4 and into turn 5 now. This breaks into a longer, kind of a mini straightaway here as they come down to turn number 7.
Yeah, they come out of, there's 4, 5, and 6, the last is there. Things will straighten out. They'll come underneath this pedestrian bridge and then hard under braking, one of the hardest braking zones here at Sebring, the hairpin over at turn number 7.
Right. And you'll notice the sun glare going into there as well. We're late in the day here in Florida. It is January. The sun's already coming down. Here they come through a little S's section here as they come in towards turn 10 here. It's a hard right-hander and sets them up for the back half of the class. Now, this is the most technical part of Sebring here, the next 3 or 4 turn combinations here, and it's really hard to do this well because it's a lot faster than you think. You have to have a lot of faith going into that section.
Yeah, and then you got to carry a lot of speed through here over at turn 12. Now, this is where we've seen a couple cars go off early today as they come onto the Flying Fortress straight. Great exit by James as he comes on, as he now goes down over into turn 14 into those S's, and then into Le Mans, into the chicane here, which will bring him onto the Ullman straight.
It'll be fun to watch as he comes down this straightaway down towards turn 17. I want to watch his RPMs here on the bottom right-hand side of your corner. I'm going to guess he's going to hit probably 8,500 or so by the time he gets there, and then it's a hard on the brakes until he goes through that big sweeper turn. Well, maybe he's not going to get that many RPMs here. We're about 6,500 RPMs before he hit the binders and got through this big sweeping turn and back onto the main straight. And there's your hot lap of Sebring.
There you go. And you can see there as he comes out of turn 17 out of the sunset bend, how much that car just gets bounced all over the place. All right, so let's do this, Brian, as we've just now seen a hot lap of Sebring. Let's take a look at our field. We are now about 8 minutes into this 25-minute qualifying session. Your fastest driver on track right now in his Radical SR10 is John Field. That is a GTX car. I would call it a prototype car, but we've got it in GTX. He is your fastest driver on course, a smoking fast 205.682. Your second fastest driver, and this is somebody you know very well.
I do.
Out of Canfield, Ohio, he is your 2017 GT1 national champion. David Pinteric in his 2022 Ford Mustang, a 207.442. He is currently your fastest GT1 driver on course, as he now has a 55/100th of a second advantage over Thomas Herb. We saw Tom in that hot lap with James Candelaria. Tom Herb, your repeating national champion. He won in 2021 at Indianapolis. He won at 2022 in VIR, both in GT3, FIA GT3 cars, but definitely with damp conditions, the cars for the course. So Herb currently third overall, second in GT1. And then we've got Connor Flynn, currently your third fastest driver in GT1 in his Porsche 992 Cup car with a time of 2:10.4.
Oh, that's true. Never mind.
All right, let's jump over now quickly to GT2, where Jonathan Start in the number 151 Dodge Viper. He is currently your fastest in the class, fifth overall at 2:10.842. Barry Bowes in his TA2 Ford Mustang, second fastest GT2 car, currently sixth fastest overall, just 28 thousandths of a second off the GT2 pole that Jonathan Stark now holds. Next fastest GT2 car is going to be Jason Barfield. He is 11th fastest overall. Time for him, a 2:13.990. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's take
we've got a car going slow through 17 here, right? And it doesn't look like it's so slow. Okay. Not quite sure why that car slowed down like that.
Yeah, it was one of our BMWs, and we'll try and get the number on that in just a moment. Probably, I think one of our T1 cars. Speaking of which, by the way, we talked about GTX John Field being the fastest driver right now, and now down to a 2:04.707. We do have B-Doug Mead in his McLaren 570. That is a GT4 car, an FIA GT4 car.
Okay.
He is currently 10th fastest overall. He's got a 2:13.863, so about 5 seconds. Actually, no, it's about 9 seconds off of John Field's times, and I believe we've got at least one additional GTX car in the field. Nathan Martin in a Porsche Cayman, a 718 GT4 car, and Martin with a 2:17 in the books, currently 19th fastest. So good to see some of these GT4 machines coming out on track. If we take a look now over at T1, multi-time national champion Mark Bowden just crossed the stripe in the number 46 Fall Line Motorsports BMW M3. He's out of Buffalo Grove, Illinois. 2:13.106 is the time in the books. James Candelaria, just spoke about a few moments ago, second fastest driver in GT1 currently with a 2:15.36 in his Phoenix Performance prepared Chevy Corvette. Then we've got Michael McAleenan, and this is interesting. I'm showing him as being in T4, but he's also in a 570S GT4 car. I'm not sure why a couple of them are in GTX and why some of them are in GT1. And we've got a car, Brian, coming out of turn 5, going towards turn 7. Looks as though it may have lost a motor. Lots and lots of smoke coming off of it. And we'll take a look as it comes down and pulls offline. And that is one of our GT1 cars. And we're trying to get the number, and there are a lot of cars following that car down into turn 7. And yeah, we'll try and get the number. Try and get the number on that car. And the number is 37. We saw it was a black and gray Chevy Corvette, and he is now pulled off to the side.
Yeah, that's
James Irvin.
James Irvin, correct.
Yeah. Yeah, Irvin out of Tallahassee, Florida, and his Chevy Corvette, and he has pulled that car off to the side of the track. He's over by turn 8 right now. All right, so let's take a look here. A couple more classes.
Before we do that, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
Because we want to get that in at right here around the halfway point in this session. So we'll do that. This is the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour from Sebring International Raceway.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit HawkPerformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA's Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant, customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. Realizing Hoosier's existence and continued success is dependent upon how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see one of our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Tire racing dealer nearest you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly designed for champions. Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, brakes, and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts both on the street and on the track. as official tire retailer of Sports Car Club of America since 1995 and sponsor of the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trials Nationals and National Tour, and Track Night in America. Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
For more than 100 years, Sunoco, SCCA's official fuel partner since 2001, has been fueling victories both on and off the track, which is why Sunoco has trusted to fuel over 50 series of racing, driving, and winning, including the SCCA National Championship runoffs, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRaceFuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS.
If you like what you see today, become part of the action by joining Sports Car Club of America. Whether you want to drive, flag, or just have fun with cars, SCCA membership opens the door to all kinds of motorsports to feed your obsession. Along with 65,000 like-minded members ready to be friends, ask someone trackside how to get involved or visit scca.com for more information. All right, I was just seeing a waving yellow flag there on, what turn was that?
Well, I know we've got
turn 7.
Turn 7 as we have that GT1 car,
Okay,
the 37
right.
machine, off at turn 8, and we're sending a couple more vehicles over there now, as you can see, making the run down towards the hairpin.
Right.
At turn 7. All right, so Brian, let's quickly reset the field here, and I'm going to break things down here by class. We'll start off with the GT classes, and also because I never made it through all of them, because I'm
Too excited.
Too excited, exactly. Matt Butson, currently your fastest GT1 driver on track at a 205.613. He's got a 1.8 second advantage in his Ford Mustang over Thomas Herb in his Mercedes-Benz AMG GT4. AMG GT3. Dave Pinterick is currently running in third. In GT2, fastest driver, Jonathan Starton, the number 151 Dodge Viper ACRX out of Caledonia, Michigan. Barry Bowes in his TA2 Ford Mustang, currently second fastest. Differential between these two drivers, and it's been this way almost since the start of the session, Brian, 28 thousandths of a second. Third fastest, Jason Barfield in his Chevy Camaro. He's out of Granville, Ohio. He is currently 3.1 seconds off of the GT2 pole. If we take a look at GT3, Jeff Durnell, driver of the number 63 FC Mazda RX-7. He's out of Roswell, Georgia. He is your provisional pole sitter in class of 219.8 is his fastest lap in the session. Zach Hollinshead in an 05 Mazda Miata. He's out of Lake City, Florida. Second fastest, currently 3.2 seconds off the pole. Ray Stevenson in his 95 RX-7. Third fastest, and I'm hearing now that they are bringing down those yellow flags over at turn 7, so we should be back to clean-ish and green racing, Brian. All right, let's take a look here at GTX, and again, fastest driver on track, and he just resets fast lap of the session. John Field, 204.429. Doug Mead in his McLaren 570 SGT4 car, a 213.8. Nathan Martin in his Cayman 718 GT4, a 217.885. Now let's move over to American Sedan, which I think is, well, we haven't talked about T1 either. American Sedan, Maury Doyle in his 05 Ford Mustang. He's out of Indianapolis, a 232.2. He's got an 8-second advantage right now over Kelly Lubosh in his Chevy Camaro. And then finally over in Touring 1, it is still Mark Bowden, your provisional pole sitter in the class, in his BMW M3 with a fast time 213.1. Candelaria, a 214.04, so just about 95 hundredths of a second off of Bowden's times. Not bad considering how many national championships Bowden has taken home. Michael McAleenan in his McLaren, third fastest, currently 2.8 seconds off the field. And here is something a little interesting, Brian, that I've been meaning to bring up, and I
didn't do it.
I still want to talk.
You didn't see me. You can't prove it.
You're right. At some point, I still want to talk about Jared Odrick, who I don't think is on track right now. So we probably should have talked about him during Spec Miata. But fourth fastest right now, and I have never seen him out in this car, Tony Ave, many-time Trans Am champion, former, I think, 2-time SCCA national champion in driving.
Snowmobile champion.
Yeah, you name it. Yeah, North Carolinian as a snowmobile champion.
He's from northern Wisconsin originally.
Well, that would do it.
Yep.
Okay. So he's like my parents, slowly but surely making his way to South Florida. All right. But Tony Ave.
Like LeBron.
Yes. Driving a 2019 Mercedes-Benz AMG GT3 here in T1. And that is perhaps the biggest surprise for me. Maybe he saw, what these AMGs will do. And actually, it's not. I take that back. It's not an AMG GT3. It's an AMG GT4.
There you go.
The 8-cylinder version, and he is currently 4th fastest, just ahead of Hugh Stewart, who just turned his fastest lap of the session.
We got a couple of cars came together here. This is the exit of turn 17. That is the yellow and black 8 car. That looks like a Corvette. The 8 car is...
Yeah, let me try and pull.
Here it is. It's Michael Smelly?
Smelly, yes.
And I can't tell what the other car is, although that looks like it.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and maybe I don't want to go. I think that might be Dave Pantera.
That's car. That's Pantera in the 57 car. They came together. I don't know who came together first and how it came together, but both cars are moving now towards pit lane. That's a good sign, at least for getting them put back together. So maybe there wasn't too much damage, but if you don't think they're tracked together here for qualifying, these guys got all over it.
Yeah, so Smelly driving the number 8, the GT3 Mazda RX-7, the 95 RX-7, currently sitting 8th in class. Obviously, his session is now done, and of course, Pantera, former national champion in that 57 Ave Motorsports Mustang. Currently sitting 2nd fastest in GT1, and I wouldn't suspect he's going to put in another fast lap.
Joshua Justice Racing in the chat. Oh, that's a bad place. Yes, that is a bad place to come together. RGL Motorsports, Roswell, Georgia represents. Thanks for watching. Phil Zhu, Joshua Justice Racing, Brian Straczynski, Brian Donati, all these guys, Irwin, Deacon Greenfield Racing, thank you all for coming on board and leaving messages in the chat. We love that you're here. Hopefully you'll join us again for the rest of the weekend as well. 2 minutes left in the session. The good news for the drivers out there is that became a self-clearing incident at turn 17. Both those drivers be able to collect and get back on pit lane. And the good news for them is they've got all night long and part of tomorrow to put those cars back together. If there was any damage, they should be able to get out here and get their stuff together. And they don't even race till after lunch tomorrow, so plenty of time to work that all out. Their qualifying times are already
tell their crews that, Brian.
I'm always a positive thinker.
Right.
I like to exude. I like to go to the universe and say we need to think positively. We're going to get these cars back on the racetrack. Oh, well, you know what? That just means more money for the crews.
No, it
doesn't work that way.
No.
It doesn't work that way. Love it. Love it. 2 minutes to go as we wrap up our final qualifying session for the day. We're going to do this all again tomorrow with 3 more qualifying sessions in the morning and then 8 races, round 1 of the 2023 Hoosier Tire Super Tour. All 8 races tomorrow. You can see them on SCCA.com/live. And you know what else? We're going to do it again on Sunday.
On Sunday
round
as well.
number 2.
Oh, 3 full days of action here from Sebring International Raceway, and I'm stoked for it, Brian.
And at like noon on Sunday, we're gonna be making a call not to grid, but for like an extra announcer because my voice will be gone, completely shot.
I come stocked with cough drops, my friend.
Very nice. A lozenge, please.
Yes. All right, so we now have just about a minute remaining here in qualifying. Again, your fast driver on track, and you can see that on our timing pylon there.
Yes.
It is John Field in his Radical SR10, our GTX and overall pole sitter right now. Matt Butts and Dave Pintarik, 2 GT1 drivers, 2nd and 3rd fastest, respectively. Then Tom Herb, our reigning national champion, and repeating national champion.
Absolutely.
In GT1, currently 4th fastest. And what I've just seen, Brian, is probably the biggest surprise of all. John Field crossed the stripe, did not set a new fast lap as he had for the last 10 or so. All right,
Absolutely.
checkered flag is now out on the session. And I'm sure, we'll have to check as to why that is. I know we're throwing the checker about 20 seconds early. I guess somebody's hungry once they get some dinner. But checkered flag is now out. Flying laps here will count, Brian. So John Field has the opportunity to reset fast lap here if he can and if he so desires. Now, one of the little bit of a surprise, and I expected to see him out here in qualifying, Brian.
Yep.
Another car we talked about, that C8 Corvette running in T1 is many-time champion John Heinrichsey debuted a new Phoenix Performance car, a Cadillac CT4V Blackwing at Homestead. I think he came home 4th and 5th on each day, respectively. But that is certainly a car that I am very, very excited to see here in SCCA road racing. Not since the likes of the Cadillac CTSV and in Touring 1, and actually, it wasn't the CTSV, an American sedan. Right. But great to see a four-door Cadillac back out here in SCCA road racing.
All right, I think that's a wrap, isn't it not?
That is, let's do this, Brian. Let's go. We're going to wrap things up here, break things down by class, and then we'll give everybody marching orders for tomorrow and tell them when and how they can find us and how things are going to be laid out tomorrow. So let's start off again at the top of the field. We'll start off with GTX, where John Field was your fastest driver overall. And guess what, Brian? As he crosses the stripe on the last flying lap.
Another fast lap?
Yeah, he resets fast lap. So good thing I waited that extra 3 seconds to start. A 2:02.230 is your pole time.
I don't think he's trying hard enough.
Nah, probably not.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if he can better that tomorrow. But John Field, he is going to be your pole sitter. B. Doug Mead, second fastest in GTX. Nathan Martin, third fastest. Both Mead and Martin running GT4 cars. I don't think it's necessarily a fair fight against that radical prototype car. Let's move over to GT1, where Matt Butson finishes up the session as your pole sitter in class. Dave Pintarik, second fastest. Tom Herb, Connor Flynn rounding out the top 4 in class. In GT2, fastest driver today, Jonathan Start in his 2010 Dodge Viper with a fast time, qualifying time of 2:10.842, a whole 28 thousandths of a second clear of Barry Bowes. Justin Elder and Marcus Vento, third and fourth fastest in class. And should also note that Vento only 24 thousandths of a second off of Justin Elder's qualifying time. If we jump over to GT3, 3 drivers set times today. Jeff Durnell, your provisional pole sitter in the class, and I think we can now say pole sitter in the class, a 2:19.873. His fastest lap time. Zach Hollingshead, Ray Stevenson rounding out the field in GT3. In American Sedan, Maury Doyle with a 2:32.2. His fast lap time. Kelly Lubosh will start second in class. And then let's wrap things up here for the day, Brian, with Touring 1, T1, where Mark Bowden from Fall Line Motorsports is your pole sitter at 2:13.106 the time. James Candelaria only 94 hundredths of a second off in his Chevy Corvette. He'll start second in class. Michael McAleenan in his McLaren will start third. And Tony Ave in his Mercedes AMG GT4 will start fourth.
All right, that's going to wrap it up here from our Friday coverage of the qualifying sessions for round 1 of this year's Super Tour. We're going to do it all over again tomorrow. We're going to break in at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. 3 sessions of qualifying. We'll wrap up for tomorrow's races, and then around 9:50 we'll begin our first 8 races. The first round of the Super Tour. We're going to have 4 races before lunch, 5 races after lunch. We hope you'll be there for all of them. You can find all the action on scca.com/live, and I think we've had a good first day.
That's it. And should also add, if you go to the Sports Car Club of America YouTube page,
yes,
and you can tell all your friends, you can obviously watch us live there. You can also, after the fact, go back and see all these races. This is one of the great things about using YouTube, is to be able to make these things, these races, these events available to you almost immediately. Also, we will be broadcasting on the SCCA's Facebook page
Sure.
as well. So lots of ways to get the broadcast. If you want to get a hold of Brian or I, supertourannouncers@gmail.com. We read every email, assuming it doesn't go to spam. We read every email, and we definitely appreciate if you have any comments, any information about drivers. If you're a family member and your husband, your wife, your daughter, your son is out on track, and you got some great information that you want to tell the whole world about, send us an email. We'll let everybody know. But
share the stream information on your social media channels. Tell your friends when your race is actually going to happen, so they know when to tune in. We'd love that. Of course, like and subscribe, all those things. Hit the chime so you can get alerted that we're going to be doing our thing, and because we're going to do this 19 more. Well, no, we're going to do 20 times this year.
A lot, yeah.
10 weekends, 20 days of racing, extra days of it's going to be just mind blowing.
That's right.
I'm sorry. I'm not excited at all.
No, not at all. All right, so for Brian Bielanski, I'm Gregg Ginsberg.
Our producer is Brendan Kazmarek, and we are done.
We are done, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning.
This is the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. We were live from Sebring International Raceway, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.